Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Vainglory 8. This time it's the American Challenger Series. It's time to see who are top three teams from Challenger, or the bottom three teams of the Vainglory 8 are going to be our brand new teams, at least you can be said for sure. My name is Munchables, and I'm joined once again by Tasty Bacon and Dragonborn. How are we feeling coming into the North American Games? A lot on the line for these teams.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of teams with pretty much their spots already locked down, but it's going to be a slugfest to determine who that final team in the Vainglory is going to be, and then where these teams are going to rank, because that is equally as important.
Yeah, and across the course of yesterday, we had a lot of interesting results coming out from some of these teams, Dragonborn.
Oh, we absolutely did. Some surprising upsets. Immortals dropping a full series, 2 hammers, a team that actually had pretty low expectations just based on their performance coming in here from the Vainglory 8. So that was a huge surprise. And of course, we've seen, Tribe unfortunately not able to get a single point last night as well. So some up and downs for some of these Vainglory 8 teams and some of the Challenger teams coming in.
All right, well, for anyone who's unaware of how this tournament is working so far, we have the bottom 3 teams from the first split of Vainglory 8 up against the top 3 teams from the Challenger Series in North America. They are going head-to-head in 3 best-of-3 series per team. The VG8 teams going against the Challenger teams and vice versa. And the highest win percentages at the end of the weekend will go through into the Vainglory 8. So a lot on the line for these 2 teams, and points on the line as well. If those Vainglory 8 teams are knocked out, the Challenger teams have the opportunity to steal away the points that they've managed to earn so far. But as we said before, a lot of upsets yesterday, a lot of things that weren't necessarily expected coming in from yesterday. But before we do jump into all of the action for NA and jump into the matchups themselves, I just want to do a quick recap of what's happened earlier today in Europe, because we have our 3 Vainglory 8 teams confirmed now for Europe. Calamity Reborn, Salty Potatoes, and G2 Esports, albeit by the skin of their teeth, are going to be our Vainglory 8 teams over in Europe. So congratulations to those 3. But now, on to the conversation about America. One of the guys that I really want to highlight from yesterday in terms of the challenge battles is Archaic. He stepped up yesterday to a level that I don't think we've ever seen Archaic at. And he was the reason that his team was able to put up such impressive results.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal play. In this first game that we saw him on in the challenge battles yesterday, we was on this Kashka, had just an absolutely disgusting KDA in that game. This is obviously their matchup a little bit later on when he was running and just really helping starting all over to either carry the game or making up for a lack of starting all over carrying a game. It was just like Munchville said, we've never seen Archaic play to this level previously, and it was really, really impressive.
So now, sorry, you look like you want to add to that.
And your Archaic kind of comes as a package deal. Afro also playing very well. When Afro's playing well and Archaic's playing well, this is a very formidable foe, because starting all over as well as it's that hypey carry that when his team's performing great, he's going to be able to push them over the edge.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see if he's going to be able to do that for his team. And you have to question whether or not Hammers are actually the favorite coming through now, looking towards that top seed going into the Vainglory 8. They've got 2-0 victories under their belt. Their last team to go against are Rogue, and honestly, it's a little bit surprising coming forward that you see that scoreline. But Rogue also with 2-0 victories of their own. So that matchup later today, I am very, very excited for. But the first matchup going to be coming to our screens is Echo Fox and Immortals. Now, let's start with Immortals, because yesterday they had varying performances. Yes, they've looked dominant in their victories, and they had a 2-0 victory. But off stream, they lost 2-0 to Hammers, and that was the first game Hammers had played, so no one was expecting this ridiculous archaic performance. No one was expecting Hammers to come out swinging like they have.
Yeah, it was really, really impressive. But for Immortals, like, this is a team that everyone just kind of expected to come in, roll through the challenge battles, just body all of their opponents, and get into the Vainglory 8, and then be one of the top contenders in Vainglory 8. And now, all of a sudden, they found themselves in a situation where they need to win this matchup, or they won't even make it back to the Vainglory 8. And so a lot of pressure is now suddenly on these players' shoulders, pressure that they have not had to deal with before.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's an uncomfortable situation when you're on the brink of defeat, but that is the story of all of our games today. It's been the story all through Europe as well, and a lot on the ropes right now for Echo Fox. And let's talk about the Echo Fox roster as well. Obviously, Echo Fox, they have a roster with a lot of raw talent behind them. You've got Irwin, you've got Supershot, who've both been stepping up huge, and Slater has definitely had moments of glory as well. What is it that this team needs to kind of sew together if they want to come in as a favorite in this matchup?
Yeah, this team has a lot of potential. We actually have seen them step up their game in the Vainglory 8, and so it's unfortunate that they're only now finding that switching Supershot into as the carry was a huge move, kind of bold, and it paid off early, and it's actually paid off a little bit. They've got 2 points. They're actually in a position here where they could push in, taking down Immortals, but boy, is that a high order for them to make, because, you know, you're talking about one of the teams who just came off a loss they feel personally they shouldn't have lost, and they're going to be coming in here very agitated, ready to make a statement that, no, they're not a team to sleep, you know, they're not just, you know, borderline good. They really are a top contender. So, but I think Echo Fox can bring stuff. They're a little bit unique in the draft. They like to play some different off-meta carries, and, you know, if they have one good game, it could definitely tilt the momentum in their favor.
Yeah, and you can see there, Supershot, he knows the score on this one. It's literally them. It's us or them in his eyes when it comes to Echo Fox and Immortals. One of these two teams will make it into the Vainglory 8, and this series is going to decide which one it is.
Yeah, it's not in his eyes. That's how it is. That's a hard fact. One of these two teams is getting in. One of these two teams is going back to challengers empty-handed. And both of these teams are familiar with being on both sides of that coin. They've both been in Vainglory 8. They've both had to slug through the challengers. So neither side is going to want to have to drop down once again.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to drop down into the Challenger series at this point. Like, when you're on the brink of getting into the Vainglory 8, you want to stay there. Or if you haven't been there before, you want to make it there. But that's the thing about NA. All of these teams have been in the Vainglory 8 before. Now, our matchup to watch in this game, I believe, is going to be our carries for this one. It's Dienzio and Juan Hernandez. Oh, in fact, no, I'm totally wrong. Going for the totally wrong matchup. It's Irwin and it's T-Tigers. Now, T-Tigers, kind of a world-renowned jungler at this point. His jungle presence is phenomenal. And Irwin, recently swapping into this jungle role, has really been coming into his own as well.
Yeah, he's been playing so clean in the jungle, using the Scarf as his primary pick. Coming out of this role has been absolutely on fire with it. Has shown us that he also has more tricks up his sleeve than just that Scarf as well. So you can't just, you know, it's not just a simple, okay, ban Scarf away and we win against Echo Fox. It's a full team effort that you have to go up against, and Irwin in this jungle role has really stepped into his own and started to really start to shine.
Yeah, for sure. Now, earlier on, you mentioned Echo Fox. They like to have some interesting picks. They like to take the draft a little bit differently to some of the other teams. What is it you're expecting coming into this draft from Echo Fox? Like, is there something they can do to throw Immortals off here? Well,
they'll probably try to definitely come up with some creative for the carry position. Otherwise, they'll go some, you know, standard. But the biggest thing is they have to be conscious of T-Tigers in the jungle. To beat Immortals, you need to be able to body T-Tigers. You need to be able to take farm away from him. If you don't take farm away from him, he's going to win the jungle, and typically that means Immortals have won the game.
Yeah, it could well be the case. Well, Baron and Lyra going to be the bans coming through on this one. Echo Fox starting on this A side, so they get to go for the first pick of this draft. And with the Lyra band, you'd expect Grace, but it is going to be the Vox coming on through. That has been typically a bit of a counter pick to Grace.
Yeah, it's been a pick that a lot of teams have used to counter Immortals. I'm really surprised that Suijay is having them pick up the Grace, because he is the most vocal about Vox being really good into Grace and how you shouldn't play the Grace if there's a Vox open. Like, he has been extremely vocal about that, and now they're just going to go for it.
Yeah, I think Grace also having a lot of different facets, so maybe picking it outside of that matchup and trying to find a different way to use that Grace to their effect. But it's going to be Samuel banned away, so no Samuel for Irwin, and we know that he likes to play those long-range CP junglers.
Yeah, it is going to leave the Scarf available unless Immortals take that with their second pick, but I feel like that's a really tough pick to take that early in the draft, but we'll see. I mean, obviously it's a comfort pick for Irwin, and I expect it to go over to him if it is not taken here by Immortals.
Irwin? What am I talking about? It's going to be the Idris locked in coming on through. I think my brain has just fried at this point in the day, but it is going to be a Catherine coming on the other side to counteract that. I nearly said Irwin again. I don't know what is wrong with my head. To counteract the Idris. I'm going to pass it to Dragon Ball to talk for a little bit, because I clearly can't.
So, I mean, the Catherine and the Vox are pretty good, actually, into Grace. In fact, we'll see Catherine so often just save her stun for Grace to punish her for that aggression. The Holy Nova ends up becoming pretty ineffective if you're always stunned up as a captain and Captain Grace. But it's very dangerous. Idris is very strong, and some of the counters that we've seen work against Idris aren't available right now. They're not, you already got the Vox pick. So Echo Fox definitely has to be very careful here as they go into this last pick. This last pick needs to be something that can help them win the jungle. Otherwise, Zeo is going to be able to have a full reign of the lane and this game.
Well, it's going to be the Scarf coming on through. This is something we've seen Irwin use in the jungle very successfully in the past as well. But also, if I'm not mistaken, this is very similar to that Wombo combo composition we saw out of Immortals themselves, where they were just blasting all three ultimates. They didn't have the Scarf, but it certainly fits a similar bill in terms of that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. You can double up with the silences coming out from the Catherine and the Vox, and if there's no silences, they're not going to be able to really or if there's no abilities to come out, there's not really going to be a way that you can reposition yourself and avoid the damage from the Dragon's Breath. So that possibility is there. If they can get those silences down, burn up a target before Grace is able to use the Divine Intervention, it can work out wonders for them. It's going to be a Skye as the final pick for Immortals. So T-Tigers on Skye to go up against the Scarf. This shows me that they're going to be looking to really put pressure on the Scarf and try and force him out of the jungle early.
All right, Dragon Ball, what do you make of these drafts? How are you feeling this one's going to go?
Well, in the hands of Immortals, they're so competent. I really think that they have basically the best repositioners in the game. They can, Dragon Breath's coming in, they can lay down death from above, reposition the fight. Idris can jump on, be invincible for a few seconds, and then come from the backside. And if they play that well, they'll constantly be forcing the Dragon Breath one way while they're going the other way. And that's going to be problematic. It's going to be hard to lock them down. But if they do, if Silence comes out, with all of the combos of ults coming out, it might spell doom for Immortals, so it's going to be really focused on just playing together. Both teams need to be playing together and on the same page.
All right, how are you feeling about this one, Bacon? Do you feel like either team has a significant advantage?
I don't think it's a significant advantage from the draft, but there is an advantage to Immortals just because the early game in the jungle, a Skye should be able to really punish Scarf and prevent Irwin from getting to that late game point until even later in the game. Normally we look at 15 to 18 minutes for a Scarf. Assuming T-Tigers is able to control this jungle early on with the Skye, it shouldn't be the Scarf coming on until like 22 minutes.
All right, well, we'll see if that is going to be the case. It's time to get into our first series of Day 2 of the North American Challenge Battles. It is going to be Echo Fox up against Immortals. This is in or out when it comes to the Vainglory 8, and we'll find out who is going to be our victor. Hashtag Vainglory 8 on Twitter, but let's get on into this series.
Thank you very much, guys. My name is Jaws, joined by Action Jackson for day number 2. And my goodness, AJ, this is a draft I wanted to see. Owen on the Scarf in the jungle, and we got T-Tigers on that Skye.
I think the thing which excites me most, Jaws, has got to be T-Tigers on that Skye. I love watching really high-level Skye play. It's something which definitely hasn't been like a constant in the meta over the last couple of months, but it really is something I think T-Tigers can do a lot of work with. Also, Dienzio on the Idris. Idris, very high skill cap hero. We know what Dienzio is like. Should be exciting. I think the raw power on the Immortals lineup is a little bit more than what Echo Fox is bringing to the table, but at the same time, Echo Fox, they have the ability to play these team fights in such a way that they make up for that a little bit with the synergies between their heroes. You know, if you stun someone up, you get a lot of damage down on them, and you can take them out quite quickly. Even if Grace is trying to heal that target, if you kill them before the heal comes through, it could be massive for Echo Fox.
I mean, that's just looking at the compositions. Let's look at the teams as a whole here. Immortals were beaten yesterday by Hammers of all people, and Fox have looked all too great in the last coming weeks of the VG8. This match specifically was what I was looking forward to because it can come so close, and I think it's going to go easily to Game 3. Hang on a second. A small engagement in the jungle as I was looking at the lane as always. Slater is going to get chunked out and Tigers finds the first blood. When it's going to get chased down here. Max Green, has he got anything to play with? Owen actually just burning him up. T-Tigers cutting around. Max Green is going to come through though. Pretty big. It's just going to survive with the potion. That's 2 kills now for T-Tigers on the board.
That's a pretty devastating start, I gotta be honest. If you're the side of Echo Fox, doesn't feel too good. Oh, T-Tigers just got out of that route.
Ooh, only just. Slater actually hurting himself at this point. Slater chasing him up here. Does get the healing camp as well. Slater could just run him down. He is going to step on that scout trap. That is one way to end an early advantage.
All right, so let's break down what was going on here. I like the fact that Echo Fox tried to go for the Treant. They can kill it very quickly early on. With a Scarf, you have a lot of percentage health damage from the burn. Gets through that Treant pretty quickly. But they didn't quite have enough vision of Immortals to know that they had space to do it. If a fight broke out, there's very little way that Scarf plus Catherine deals with Grace plus Skye. You saw that. I mean, quick pickup onto Slata, who admittedly got rooted. Maybe the positioning not the optimal positioning there. But on top of that, they then lose Irwin in a very close fight. So not a great situation to be in. The Tigers bit off a bit more than he could chew, though. I mean, going that deep, yes, you got the Treant, but it's still a tough situation to get out of. I think even if he hadn't stepped onto the scout trap, he probably would have gone down. So, yeah, very back and forth. Both of these teams maybe making slight missteps. It is their first game of the day, at least in the tournament, so probably need to warm up a little bit. I imagine they're going to tighten up their game as we head into a later stage. We are paused, though. Hopefully we'll have that resolved pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Oh, there you go. Well, that luck of the casters, eh? Normally it's bad luck, but this time it's good luck. T-Tigers with a bit of good luck, though. That kill actually went on to Slater rather than Irwin, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be happy about that. Especially having that double kill early. We know what he can do in the jungle, and even said on the desk, and I think people mention it sometimes a little bit too much. He is the king of the jungle, AJ. He is one of the best junglers right now in the scene. It's going to be hard to contest him. Max Green actually taking that camp away. That's painful. Super shot coming through. Spitfire doesn't end up landing. T-Tigers is going to be able to kite away. Level 4 against 2 level 2s and level 3. Beautiful Holy Nova. Slater might just go down as DNZO does connect with him as well. Super shot looking not so hot right now. Double kill comes through for DNZO. Win on the wrong side of the fight. Did manage to pick off Max Green there, but double kill for the laner and a double kill for the jungle. Not where Fox want to be. And with DNZO collapsing on Irwin, does actually have to force the boots there.
That was pretty catastrophic. There was a number of reasons why that went wrong. So first things first, obviously giving the camp to Grace. Really rough situation. She does actually have more bursts than you might expect with Benediction or with just her heroic perk. So you really have to watch out for that when you're trying to take camps from her. It's one of the reasons why you actually see Graces be so successful a lot of the time in those forward healing camps invades. T-Tigers, he should be fine. He's got Surrey Strike.
He should be fine. He's got Surrey Strike, but that burn's not going to be enough. He didn't use the Surrey Strike whatsoever. Here comes Max Green with a Benediction. DNZO is going to meet them as well. Win Slater, what is their next move? Max Green does get a Holy Nova on Irwin and actually just chunk him out all alone. It's a 1v1v1. Slater in the 1v1 with DNZO as Max Green picks up the kill onto Irwin. He's just going to chase him down here. DNZO is going to be able to find Slater as well. Just give it over to your carry, Max Green. Don't be greedy. There's the Chakra and picks up the kill. Super shot pushed in the wave, but watches his teammates die.
Yeah, so T-Tigers, I'm not sure what his plan was there. Walking towards the wall and going for the Surrey Strike should have been able to get him out of there, if maybe on very low health, still. Probably could have gotten out of there alive. But it did buy a lot of time for his team to get there, so it ends up being a 2-for-1 trade. I highly doubt that was the plan, but it kind of works out regardless, especially as one of the pickups was Irwin. That's definitely a nice pickup for Immortals to get early on here. Yeah, I mean, Immortals, they're doing a great job of pressuring the map. Echo Fox, I think they are consistently biting off too much, though. they're consistently sort of saying, all right, we're going to contest this objective. And then they die. And then they're saying, all right, we're going to pressure you a little bit, in the jungle. And they die. It's never great trades for them either. It's never like, okay, we're going to get a 1-for-1. And because of that, because we killed your carry and, you killed our captain, we're going to push the turret or something. It's more like good trades for Immortals. Quite frequently, they even get 2-for-1. So Echo Fox, they just need to tighten up a little bit. This is them trying to make things happen. And I think you got to question why, right? They've got Vox and Scarf. You can play for a later game. There's no issue with that if you're Echo Fox right now.
Not so sly are the Foxes right now with Immortals.
Ooh.
Looking Immortals, super shot, almost takes the second Chakram there on the way back, but Dienzio pushing forward. Super shot actually getting dope here. Chakram just misses. Max Green, can he finish the kill? Yes, he can. Of course he can. He is Max Green after all. Now Slater just forced underneath this turret. And with Irwin still just farming up. Now only just rotating. That's going to be a lot of damage down onto this tier 1. And Immortals just pressuring oh so hard. Irwin's here. Has got Spitfire as well. What are they going to do? Death from Above does come down. Doesn't quite connect with anybody. Max Green still backing off. Dienzio backing off as well. Max Green is going to get burned alive here. He might just end up going down. Phantom's going to get popped. There's the Holy Nova. Only onto one member. T-Tiger's just running and gunning down. Slater almost gets out. Well, he does get out. It almost goes down is what I was supposed to say. Slater almost falls. Does use the potion just for the healing at the end. Does escape alive. But look at the damage down onto Fox's tier 1.
Man, that was a really nice push. It almost worked out even better. Max Green actually had his Holy Nova interrupted by the Merciless Pursuit from Slata. So very nice timing there. This is actually something Catherine can be very effective against the Grace for.
Hang on a second, AJ. I think there's another fight. Super shot in the front line here. T-Tiger's going fairly low, but Fox will end up just taking this Treant now. That almost was explosive. T-Tiger's missing the Death from Above ever so slightly. Max Green only just rotating now.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight. I have to admit, the Catherine pick really doing a lot of work in this game. I mentioned it just there with the Holy Nova. I was about to talk about how it can be really nice into the Grace because you have just a very simple way of interrupting a heal or interrupting a Holy Nova. It's also really good into the Sky. You just chase her after the Surge Strike, slap her once, and she's stunned. It's really effective for locking down that hero. But what I want to talk about right now, if I'm able, is the fact that Dienzio is actually doing really, really well this game so far. He actually had this Sorrow Blade a couple of minutes ago, maybe even 3 minutes ago, which is part of the reason why Immortals has been able to make so many of these plays. His damage has been really quite outrageous. It's been like Grumpjaw level, at least for a minute or two there. So he's in a good spot. I like Slata interrupting that back, though. Does mean that Dienzio has to think about whether he wants his wave or not.
He's going to decide to take it. No way for you, T-Tigers, unfortunately. No tax for the jungler, but T-Tigers now just using that forward barrage to get a little bit of distance. Dienzio as well has got a massive CS lead over Supershot, 67 to 87. That's 20 CS at 8 minutes in for a lane. For a ranged versus melee laner, has actually just picked up Poison Shiv as well. Supershot is in a lot of trouble here in terms of just laning and in a lot of damage as well. Oh my goodness, that's silence. There's the Fountain as well to keep them alive. T-Tigers has just entered the fight as well. Will the Surge Strike land? It does. The Death from Above, however, does not. Fox now, they are fairly chunked out, but Dienzio and Max Green just overstaying a little bit there.
Yeah, Max Green, I think he's sticking around because there's a Grace ultimate. They're trying to maybe bait some kind of a fight here. Dienzio also has his ult, so he can kind of peace out for a little bit whilst they reset with the Grace ultimate. It's one of those synergies right after Grace was released I was talking about with, I believe it was Dalsy. Like, it's really, really strong pairing Idris with that Grace, partially for that reason, but also just because they're great dive buddies. They both have a lot of gap closing potential. As it stands, though, this turret, not long for the world. Slata cannot get back in time to really interrupt that one. And to be honest, I think that's fine. I actually would have preferred to see Erwin and Slata just go down. Like, Slata goes to the shop, spends his money. Supershot goes to the shop, spends his money. Erwin backs up to the jungle, farms. You're going to lose that turret. There's not really much reason to send 3 people up there and spend time not farming the jungle.
All looking rather promiscuous for Fox right now. I don't think they even know where they kind of are in this game. Losing that tier 1 turret just under 10 minutes as well is going to leave them in a sticky situation as they need Irwin to scale up. He has got Eve of Harvest. He's working towards a Broken Myth now, and you can imagine when he actually gets that online, they're going to want to fight. But Immortals at this moment have so much pressure in the lane. Just having that tier 1 down, Dienzio can push the waves in. Maybe a little engagement here onto Max Green. Does go fairly low. Dienzio's going to dash onto the back line, though. That Tracham's going to come out and chunk Super Shot. Owen almost taking out T-Tigers there with just the Spitfire alone. Wait for it does come out. Goes a little bit wide. Everybody managed to dodge it on the side of Immortals. And now Fox pressuring the lane now. This is their chance. This is their opportunity to actually get a lot of damage down onto this tier 1 of their own.
Not sure what happened there for Immortals, but they did not jump on the fact that Slater used Merciless Pursuit quite needlessly at the beginning of the fight. They probably could have set something up, turned that one around, but they were very, very delayed in doing so, and Erwin got, I believe, 2 Spitfires onto T-Tigers pretty quickly there. On top of that, you can see there's a little bit of communication errors happening on the side of Immortals, because actually under the turret, Dienzio was all good. He used his blink to get out of the way of the stun, but actually we saw Max Green just popping Crucible preemptively, and that's a bit of a communication breakdown. They wasted like a 45-second cooldown for no real reason, right? So Immortals, they got to make sure they're on the same page. As we move into the mid game, it's very critical. You got to be using your resources effectively against very efficient abilities like that Merciless Pursuit. If you can dodge it without using a Crucible, you definitely should, because Merciless Pursuit can be up way earlier than the Crucible.
I mean, that Blast Tremor is going to be something to block as well. I think Immortals have to kind of keep that in mind. And now Max Green with those 2 items finished and working towards what I can imagine to be an Echo. It's got to be. You just have to get the Echo on the Grace now. It's coming the standard build. Speaking of standard builds, or not so much, T-Tigers, not so much the King of the Jungle now, actually just get Blast Tremor to death. Here comes the Fountain to heal out. Super Shot might just fall, though. Dienzio just running absolutely rampant. Max Green with the heal as well. Comes up with a double kill. Immortal's still going to chase this down. Slater all alone. A sitting duck completely isolated from his team. Chakram might just finish him off. Blink forward from Dienzio. Can he find the last basic attack? Max Green comes over the wall with a benediction and sends him back to base. And now Immortals, they get the lane pressure, they get the ace, and that is another large chunk of change as well.
This is exactly what I was talking about in the early game, unfortunately. It's Echo Fox seeing an opportunity, or what they think is an opportunity, and jumping on it without necessarily putting it through the paces and thinking, okay, is this really going to work out? When you don't have supporting vision, going for a pick like that onto the sky can backfire for 2 big reasons. Firstly, going for picks without vision is just generally able to backfire, but secondly, against the sky, if he's able to Surrey Strike backwards, even if he still dies, that creates a lot of space and buys a lot of time for his team to get into position and then follow up. And Dienzio plus Max Green, as I mentioned before, this is a pairing of heroes that has tons of innate synergy, can do so much damage. If you burn a lot of your ability,
hang on a second here. Speaking of
man.
a ton of damage, Dienzio comes up big. Triple man Chakram. Blast Tremor backwards to keep them from advancing, but that isn't going to stop them now. Super Shock hiding backwards, needs to get some damage down. That Benediction doing a whole lot of work for Max Green, and the heal on Dienzio as well as soon as he engaged was absolutely beautiful. And now Immortals once more looking absolutely unstoppable. That will be the gold miner going over to them as well. And bearing in mind they took a tier 2 turret a second ago, AJ, we are not even at Kraken potential yet. And Immortals, I mean Fox, losing 2 turrets, not looking too good for them.
I'm half tempted to say that T-Tigers could take a chill pill for a little bit and just take a break from the game, still be a fine situation for Immortals. Dienzio and Max Green is just doing all the work. You saw Dienzio go in basically 1 versus 3. T-Tigers was miles away. All Max Green has to do is at very long range channel a heal, and Dienzio is going to find 1 kill, bare minimum, and be able to get out. That's where Immortals are right now. They're in a great position to take home this game. On the side of Echo Fox, though, let's start talking about maybe what they need to do to come back. I think they've had the right idea of going for picks, but you got to have the supporting vision, whether that be flares, which is probably more realistic at this stage of the game, or scout traps if you're able to get some down. You have to go for a pick onto someone when Max Green is not able to support, not able to get there in time to throw the heal down and basically ruin the chance that you've taken to actually find that pick.
Speaking of getting ruined, Echo Fox right now. Max Green looking all too good. He's got that Echo online, and that does mean double humongous gargantuan heal, AJ. T-Tigers has been found. Actually, popping that reflex block. There comes the blast tremor. Silence onto 2 members. Fox still going in, but look at DNZO on the back line already. Oh my goodness, Super Shot's health bar just ends up obliterating. Still DNZO chasing. Owen's going to be his next target, just forcing him out. Chakram finishes him off. He pops the shield and he pops the crucible as well. Well, Max Green did to get the shield off. T-Tigers handily dealing with Slater, and now Super Shot is going to just get gunned down. Immortals find another ace. That's their 3rd one of the game. We are 15 minutes in. They're looking to take that tier 3 turret, open up the base for Fox, and maybe even just take the game in the next few.
So, whilst I think that their macro play has been a little bit lackluster at times, you got to give some amount of credit to Echo Fox for their micro play of this game. Like, their team fights have not been terrible. The problem is that draft-wise, I mentioned it, like, literally, I think the first thing I said when this game kicked off was that Immortals just had so much raw power on their comp. They really do. I mean, DNZO is doing 2 heroes worth of work in this game. Max Green is doing probably 2 or 1.5, and T-Tigers, yeah, he's probably in this game just doing 1, but that's still respectable. You know, on the side of Echo Fox, I feel like Super Shot, for example, right now is probably doing like 0.75. So this is definitely working out really nicely for Immortals. They're showing us again why they're one of the top-rated teams from Challengers and why they really are in top contender spot for the VG8 slot heading into split number 2. With Kraken now on the board, this is another opportunity for Echo Fox. Everyone can make a mistake on Kraken. Immortals, no exception to that rule. And on top of that, you know, a steal. We've seen a steal this weekend already in North America, Jaws, from a Vox bounce. Maybe Super Shot will make it happen again. Who knows?
Please don't remind me. There has been too many Kraken steals, too many Gold Miner steals, just with minute abilities, basic attacks, everything under the nose. I just want to erase the memories from my head. I think Fox want to do the same as well, or at least Immortals will if they do lose this Kraken. Now doing the Kraken dance. A lot of vision down here. Placed down from Max Green. It's going to do a whole lot of work. And now infusions for DNZO and T-Tigers. They are just going to push this lane out to make sure they get that vision from the minions walking down. Now is all on to Echo Fox. Do they start the Baron? Should I stay or should I go? That Kraken is all too juicy right now. Looks like Fox are just going to recall here. At least Super Shot is going to. T-Tigers sees that opportunity, jumps on Slater, but he has a very tanky Catherine. Blast Tremor on the back line. There was Owen, does get jumped on. They take that, and they take that with Storm. Max Green actually just almost soloing out Owen here. Slater's going to go down to DNZO and T-Tigers. There we go, and now Super Shot just kiting back, but you're not going to kite away from an Idris. DNZO just jumping on top. Super Shot goes down to a Chakram, and that will be Max Green almost killing Owen. Eve of Harvest a little bit too much for him, though, I think. And now a 1v3 situation. The Lonely Duckling, or the Lonely Dragon. It's looking all too sad for Fox right now. Immortals, they're probably going to set their sights towards the Kraken.
Yeah, really nice stuff from Immortals. That being said, I think things are falling apart a little bit.
Oh my goodness, that bat got interrupted with a single kick from Grace. The boots are too big, and they are too big for Fox to wear. That's going to be an ace for Immortals. They're going to move to this Kraken, and here comes the base, AJ. Echo Fox's base is going to get absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough spot. Plus, they actually just barely got the ace buff there. So if Slata tries and run down to maybe interrupt this Kraken, you can see that wave. In fact, Super Shot even knows he has to just do a bit to it because he's not going to be able to get to the Kraken, and that's actually going to set up this push really, really nicely. That was like one melee minion taking down the one minion and nearly the tank as well. So really nice stuff there. Oh, we got a fight again.
Going fairly hard again. Hang on a second. Super Shot is cutting back with such finesse. Slater actually popping those war treads as well. It almost takes out DNZO. Max Green's heal. That didn't come in a couple of seconds or mini seconds later. DNZO would have been dead. But regardless of the fact, Super Shot is going to go down. And that will be, I think, all said and done for Echo Fox at the moment. Catherine actually picking up the null wave there, but Kraken is just going to walk down the lane. That's no damage item, unfortunately, Slater, so I don't think it's going to help for the moment.
Yeah, this is going to be a really rough hold from Echo Fox. The good news is they've got the Scarf. This is something that can deal a lot of work to the Kraken. I don't think you really want to spend 75% of your Dragon's Breath behind you, though. Not ideal.
Okay. Not ideal, and do you know what isn't ideal? Fox's base being completely destroyed. Here comes the Kraken just marching down. Slater goes fairly low. T-Tigers in the back line. Super Shot's kind of handily dealing with him, though. Erwin and DNZO, but DNZO get this massive heal from Max Green. Kraken's going to be knocking on that base. DNZO is going to fall. Max Green last to fall as well. Double kill comes through for Super Shot. Gets his name on that board. Can they damage the Kraken? A couple more hits from it, and the crystal will go down. Only just surviving. Fox with the skin of their teeth, survive for only the moment.
Wow, that was really, really close. I mean, I think that the priority needed to just be on ending the game there from Immortals. I think they certainly could have, but at the same time, this is not the end of the world for the side of Immortals. You know, there's not much on the map for Echo Fox to bounce back and take. They're going to try and face tank the turret. I think that should be fine. They're very likely to get at least this one here, but that is not a tremendous amount of money. It's certainly not something game-breaking, as I said, for the side of Immortals. And Immortals now, they've actually gone back, stocked up on full infusions, so they're coming back with full force. Maybe they even just push down the lane and try and end straight up here. I think that's definitely an option for them if they want to, just based on the fact that Echo Fox is still a little behind the curve in terms of what they're bringing to these fights. Erwin, for example, yeah, he's got his core offensive items, but he's kind of missing out on the defensive items that he really needs against Dienzio right now.
Just think they need a few more offensive items each, I think. Echo Fox not looking so hot right now. And the thing that they could do to come back into this game, AJ, is win the next couple of team fights. But how do they actually go about doing that? Because Immortals just seem to run and gun. Dienzio jumps in, Max Green gives him the heal. This composition drafted from Immortals looks nigh on unstoppable when Dienzio actually gets ahead. I want to know what they can actually do to force something here or even just come back in this game.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is really, I mean, it relies on Immortals making a misstep, maybe Dienzio stepping too far ahead, or T-Tiger's doing a bad Surrey strike or a forward barrage backwards or something like that. That's the kind of level of mistake we're talking about right now for Echo Fox to convincingly be able to come back into this one. Unless sort of a strategic misplay happens, or a tactical misplay is perhaps a better way of describing it, like maybe Immortals positions in a choke point and can't get on top of anyone. Well, we got to fight here, though.
Well, speaking about getting on top of someone, that's a massive death from Bubba. It's going to separate the team. Blast Tremor onto 3 members of Immortals. They're just going to run and gun them down. Here comes the heal onto Dienzio. A massive 600 HP heal. Slater in the front line, tanking as much as he can, but Owen's now on the side. He's got the flank, he's got the Dragon's Breath, but will Immortals burn? They don't really care all too much as they take a double kill. Super shot on Slater going down. Owen's going to fall as well. That patch of goop lit on fire is going to finally find T-Tigers his own grave, but Immortals, they've only got that crystal standing in front of them now from the first win in this best of 3, and they're just going to handily take it.
Wow, that was a really nice fight, but it almost went wrong halfway through. So Dienzio had to hard bail, couldn't even blink out of there, had to just walk and hope that Max Green's heal would come out in time. It did, though, so things pan out really nicely. By the way, I really like that Max Green actually fully leveled up his ultimate instead of his Holy Nova this game, just because you have so much damage on Echo Fox that having that extra heal doubled with an Echo does a lot of work. Overall, Immortals, great to play this game. Echo Fox, if they tighten up, maybe they can do this in game number 2, though.
Well, they've got outfoxed so far, and I want to see if they can do it in the draft because Immortals comp looked unstoppable. But to break that game down a little bit more, we got Munch and the boys over on the desk.
I think it was Dienzio specifically that looked unstoppable there. 14-2-5. What a scoreline coming out. I feel like you now have to ban the Idris surely against this guy, because yesterday we had a couple of questions maybe, and there was just questions in general about who can and cannot play Idris, but Dienzio proving right there that he absolutely can, and paired up with a Grace, it seems unstoppable.
And it's something that they've been playing a lot of yesterday. Even in their losses against Hammers, they ran that Idris in both of those games. So they've been really big on this Idris pick, showing why here. This was a game that, despite the scoreline, Echo Fox had a chance. They had a chance to turn this around. They were starting to slowly turn it around, but then they made one really bad decision down the stretch of this game where it was the super shot recalled while the rest of the team didn't. And that ended up really being what cost them at the end.
Well, Immortals across the course of that game actually averaged a kill per minute, so definitely turning on the heat. And it was just such a fast-paced game, Dragon Ball. Like, they never seem to stop fighting.
Yeah, Immortals is that aggressive, fast-paced team. It's usually how they win. They just overpower you with non-stop action. And I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't look like Echo Fox reviewed the videos, the VODs from the Immortals game between Hammers, because Hammers did find a way to allow Dienzio's Idris to be played and still found victory there. So there's a lot that happens. It's hard maybe in just one night to get all that information in, but it looks like, them going with the Scarf and with the Vox. I understand what they were trying to do. They could have done it. In fact, there was a point in the game where they still looked like they could come into this game, but unfortunately, Immortals, they are the superior team fighters, and they showed that here. They just, even when they're behind or they lose a guy early, they find a way. Like right here, they're down already one guy, and they're still able to win this fight actually quite handily, and this is on the back of Zio's Idris.
Yeah, a big part of that was they put so much focus on the T-Tigers, which you have to do, but they just, when they went all in on the T-Tigers, sometimes it ended up with Super Shot or, Irwin and Slata going a little bit too deep for that and leaving Super Shot then on his own against Dienzio and Max Green. And when the Vox goes down, I don't care how late it is, the Scarf is going to struggle. This was where we sort of had a glimpse of, Echo Fox maybe still having a chance. You can see Super Shot has a lot of damage on this Vox and is almost able to turn this one around. But the next fight after that, this is the one where he was recalled. I believe it was this one where it ends up being basically, it's a 2-on-3 the entire time. There was never a time where all three of them were together. Irwin got completely split from the team because that recall came through. It was something I really wanted to be able to show a little bit more in depth, like the rotations that were happening during that time, but it ended up catching Echo Fox out of sorts, and Immortals took advantage.
Yeah, they certainly did, and with a 6-19 scoreline to round that one out, they took advantage in a big way there, and now Echo Fox have to go back to the drawing board when it comes to this draft. Now, we've spoken a little bit about compositions to go into Idris. What is it that Echo Fox need to change here? Like, do you try and build around this Idris here, or do you just try and ban it away and like maybe look for, now that they're on the B side, maybe look for the Baron first pick with an Idris ban or something similar?
Oh yeah, I mean, it would be totally okay to ban it. I mean, if you feel like you aren't comfortable with the way to counter it, and that might come out here. We see that obviously very prevalent in Europe, and so wouldn't be surprised here. But there are ways, and one of the ways that we saw Hammers do it was with Kestrel. And with a very heavy jungle poke, either a Baptiste or a Samuel, and then just position themselves correctly. And then maybe that's the issue, maybe positioning. I actually think the Scarf pick was a decent pick, and we saw at times it was fairly effective getting damage down. But if you lose out early and you don't position yourself well, yeah, Immortals is going to storm right over you.
Yeah, Immortals certainly doing a phenomenal job in Game 1. Let's see if they can replicate that in Game 2 now. Banning the Lyra as their first ban, and Echo Fox on this B side. A few decisions to make here. Grace will be taken away. That means Baron potentially open for Immortals.
Yeah, but they're going to go ahead and take the Vox instead of the Baron. So they're saying that they feel like they can deal with a Baron if it were to come out. Or maybe challenging Echo Fox, saying, if you play the Baron, go ahead and grab it. Super Shot would be the one on that if they do go ahead and take it. But it's almost, a mind game situation where now Echo Fox has to wonder, okay, are they letting us have the Baron because they have a plan for it, or are they just trying to mind game us? And I think in this situation, you take the Baron and just try and make it work, because it is just such a strong pick.
It certainly is. I mean, Baron can single-handedly win games if you can get it rolling, if you can get a few items on it without falling too far behind. We'll see whether Super Shot is willing to take that burden on his shoulders. We mentioned the potential of picking that and banning the Idris, but they're going to go for a Catherine pick here, which you've got to assume is to maybe try and block an Idris, but there's already a Vox picked up for Immortals.
I think it's also to try and deal with a Kestrel that might come out, but it's a curious pick. I don't really know if it's first pick worthy. I mean, you have the option, like, you're going to get your captain before your opponents do regardless. So they could have taken a carry there and then let the bands go through and grab their captain afterwards, but it's a little bit curious to me that they went for the Catherine first.
Yeah, here in the jungle, I mean, I think, they might have wanted to play the Kestrel, but Immortal's smart enough to ban that away once the Catherine's picked. But they could go here with the Samuel. I think they really should do poke. I think positionally, the Scarf play is something that they maybe excel out. So try to stay within that play style, but find something that definitely has a stronger early game, because you really do want to survive the early game against Immortals, and Samuel can give you that level 2 spike you need to keep T-Tigers out of the jungle. Samuel is going to come out, and I think that's the right call. You don't want to give Samuel over to Immortals. I do suspect, though, that T-Tigers could play the Baptiste here. He's really good. He hasn't shown it too many times, but it would be a very powerful play. We have seen, of course, other times they play Glaive into a Samuel to try to get to that back line.
Arden and Batiste could be the combo here for Immortals. It's a very strong duo, helps with survivability a bit, and obviously the Batiste into a Samuel. We've gone over how well that can work. Glaive could be an option too, but typically Glaive has been being played in the lane, and with Vox already picked up, it's highly unlikely that they'll go down that route. I feel like the Batiste may just be their strongest pick. There's going to be the Arden at least, so one half of that pairing has been locked in. Putting a lot of thought into this final pick, though.
Yeah, they could go either way with this. This is a tough one because the Crystal Glaive's really not as formable, and actually T-Tigers did lose a game yesterday on that Glaive, and so maybe doesn't want to have to replicate that. So there's a few other options here. You know, you got the Samuel, you do want to get it back. They could go with Koshka. Koshka's still available, but Immortals has known that some of these teams have figured out the counter the Koshka to play around it.
I mean, you've even got options like the Scarf. We've seen Arden Scarf as a specific duo work wonders for different teams. That's definitely an option that's available. Or just the Batiste also works. Cruel is the decision, though, which, generally speaking, you'd see be weapon power. This could be a double weapon comp.
It very well could. This is something that obviously, TSM has run a couple times. We saw it yesterday as well. The weapon power Kroll being able to have an impact with the double weapon power composition. It can work well into Samuel, but there's going to be the Baron final pick. This is a little bit risky on the Baron just because a From Hell's Heart, if it connects, will completely shut down the Baron. Like, that is a death sentence if it connects onto Baron. But if you can avoid it, if you can use your jump jets to block it or dodge it or anything of the sort, then this Baron can actually do a ton of damage before those weakness stacks build up on him.
Yeah, the Baron getting all the way through to the last pick as well. Kind of smart coming out from Echo Fox saying like, okay, let's figure out what composition we're against. Then once they've locked that in, then we go for the Baron, once we know that it is safe. How are you feeling about these compositions, Dragonborn? How does this have to go for Echo Fox to take the game?
I mean, it really has to go early. They need to get that pressure onto Cruel. They don't want Cruel to build up. I'm not sure if it's going to be weapon or if it's going to be some kind of like support Cruel to help get just weakness stacks on the Baron and on the Samuel, because those guys will have a lot of damage that you kind of want to mitigate. But it could go either way. I do think, though, that whatever it is, Cruel doesn't take that long to come online like it used to, so I'm excited to see.
All right, so very quickly, I want your predictions for this game. Who do you think is going to take this one before we jump in?
I like the draft of Echo Fox, but I think Immortals are just a better team right now.
Okay, Immortals, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's really rare to bet against Immortals. They are a very dominant team here, and anything can happen, but I think they're going to win this game, if not the series.
All right, well, if they win this game, it will be this series. Immortals potentially looking at a 2-0 here. Can Echo Fox come back? Let us know if you want them to on Twitter using that hashtag Vainglory8. But with that, it's time to jump on into the second game of our first North American series of the day.
Thank you very much, guys. And once again, Immortals coming through with such a dominant game number one, AJ. Game number two, they got a Krull on the field. T-Tigers taking it easy. But I got to say, I love the draft from Echo Fox here, coming through with that Baron.
Yeah, I like the Baron a lot. I think this is going to be Echo Fox. I think it's going to give them the potential to have some of these team fights go a bit better for them in the later stages of the game, just because it does so much damage. And they're not against necessarily something that can just annihilate a Baron. If T-Tigers gets on top of Baron, sure, that's really good, and you gotta keep your eyes out for strong Hell's Heart plays, but Baron is not that stressed about an Arden a lot of the time, because you just overdrive your Rocket Leap and jump out of gauntlets. We'll have to see if that ends up panning the way that Echo Fox want, though, because Immortals does have the ability to really push the tempo of this game if they want to.
The tempo has already been set, it seems. T-Tigers getting stunned up by Slater here. He's just going to run and gun them down, it seems. Slater having to pop those potions. T-Tigers doing the same thing. Owen on the sidelines, free hitting, though. Here comes Super Shot with the First Blood. First Blood goes over to Super Shot, killing T-Tigers. Can Max Green find the last auto attack? Slater comes through with the Merciless Pursuit in a completely flipped game. Immortals getting 0-2'd in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, this is the risk, making plays you perhaps shouldn't around that Treant. It happens to the best of us, though. We've seen it in so many games. Echo Fox, how are they going to be able to leverage this? So that's the real question. You do have to keep in mind that Slater now, very low health, should probably back. That means maybe Super Shot's vulnerable in the lane. You see Max Green already heading up here, kind of anticipating that.
Slater going very low here. Has to put the potion. He might just end up going down. Max Green's going to follow this up. Another basic attack, another kick will send him to the ground, and that'll be a kill for Immortals. And this is looking all reminiscent of last game. This is exactly what happened, AJ. Just flipped around. Quite spooky.
So that was actually a pretty obvious play from Immortals. You know, when you know that the captain is so low after a fight over the Treant, they are not going to be getting, you know, healing Treants from their jungler necessarily. They're going to have to back if they want to heal up. Max Green plus Dienzio, they've got damage to take someone down, whether it be forcing Super Shot out of lane and just crashing a wave into the turret and making him waste a wave, or if Slata decides to go up the lane, you saw exactly what can happen there. Maybe a little bit over greedy by Echo Fox for Slata to stick around there. Let's see who gets the Treant.
Well, the Treant is going to go over to T-Tigers. He gets the bounty, he gets the gold. Here comes Super Shot, though, from the lane. Actually walking into 3 members of Immortals. Jump Jets away, though, is going to give him the distance that he needs. Oh, T-Tigers almost getting rooted up. That was very, very close. He might just go down, though. He jumps straight on the back line of Echo Fox. He gets outslide, though. Outsmarted. He gets taken down by Irwin, and still Super Shot is alive somehow. Max Green is going to get chased down here. Vanguard on himself isn't going to save nobody. Owen picks up that next kill. 2 kills on the board for him now. Now Dienzio, with a tail between his legs, has to run away.
Is T-Tigers playing Pirate? Oh, yeah, that was in the avarice there. The greed. Man, going for that Treant, that forward Treant, was a little bit much for my liking. And then diving in afterwards was kind of, you have to do it, because at that point, Curl Sustain is the only way you're making that trade happen. But yeah, very, very interesting play there. Very, very risky from Immortals. Hasn't really ended up working out for them. 4 kills already to Echo Fox. Super Shot actually has 1 of them. This is definitely a scary position to be in. Immortals need to not let Baron get out of control here. We've seen plenty of times what can happen if it does.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, AJ. T-Tigers, though, in this brush actually gets stunned up. Didn't realize Slater was there with the Merciless Pursuit, but is still going to turn into a ghostly pirate and run away. Very spooky looking game. Colors of Immortals as well. How quaint. Now Fox, they need to get this Baron online and getting raring to go, but T-Tigers picking up that tension bow here might provide a little bit more danger to Super Shot if he does step forward, but at the moment his positioning has just been on point.
Yeah, it has up until this. He's got to keep doing that, though. I have to admit, Super Shot's looking really good on the Baron. I want to see him on this more, assuming this game goes well for Echo Fox, because he has been utilizing it very smartly throughout the game. Also, I like that Slata got his pick of Catherine again. This is something that I think almost worked out last game, so hopefully he can make it happen this time around as well. T-Tigers, I've yet to see the impact that this Kroll can provide. He's got a tension bow. I think this really is something which should be doing work right now. It is something that can, especially when paired with an Arden. So let's keep looking towards T-Tigers. He's going to be influential here for the side of Immortals.
He is. The level 6 mark is coming up very, very soon. Next camp, I believe. There we go. Just gets it now. So now Immortals may be looking for an entrance way into this game. 1,000 gold lead separates the 2 teams. Well, I can't really add too much. It's a bit late in the evening, you know, AJ, your math starts getting a bit funny. It's actually 600 gold, not 1,000. I was being a little bit too generous, I think, to Fox. And now Immortals looking for something here. T-Tigers doing the classic troll thing, is sitting in that top brush, waiting for an engagement to happen. From Hell's Heart is available. He throws it out. He stuns Irwin. They're just going to dive bomb him and just dogpile him. He ends up going down. Max Arena has to exit the fight, though, but their attention is turned to Slater, who falls very, very low. But T-Tigers decides he just wants enough of it. Super Shot just overstepping a little bit there, just gets stunned up. In fact, Dienzio in a lot of trouble. There comes Crew again. T-Tigers can't find the smite kill though, but Slater will end up falling to Dienzio. Immortals picking up 2 kills there. A long extended team fight, but still coming out on top.
There's a fountain. It wasn't on cooldown. Okay, so Super Shot, if he had gotten in and been able to double attack Max Green, he probably gets that kill. Maybe he gets away. It's a trade, maybe. Fine. But Max Green did the smart thing, stayed in the mustache bush on the Immortal side. As a result, Super Shot jumping forwards like that was just a little too bold, because Dienzio wasn't going to go down when there's a fountain on Max Green. Fox should have known that. That really brought Immortals back into not just the game, but also like a good position in the game. very, very nice spot for Immortals now. They can start to really do what I was talking about earlier, push the tempo, right? That's what they need to do to really catch up with Baron. And Dienzio now, with 700 gold in the bank, plus already the Poison Shiv, is looking like he can get there. You know, he's just farmed a wave, has a second one very easily here if he wants it.
Quite easily. I mean, it's all scary looking at T-Tigers and that brush up there, but he's not really need a fight whatsoever. And Max Green doesn't have that gauntlet available. He's about 2/3 into his next level up. So he has to wait a little bit longer for that penultimate ultimate to be available. Penultimate ultimate. It's very fitting. Super shot, though. Completely alone in this lane. T-Tigers does not know that. Only we know. We've got the X-ray vision. That's the perfect place to be. Dienzio now rotating towards this lane. Has got his own tension bow. From Hellside is going to find Super Shot. He might just completely be caught out here. Smite comes through. Only just surviving. T-Tigers takes a turret hit. And he will be forced to go back to base. We'll see what they want to do now. Slater actually jumps head first into 3 members. Oblivion is going to come out. Is actually going to sleep 2 members of Immortals there. Erwin comes up really big in that engagement. Saves Slater's life.
Man, that was pretty dicey. I like the fact that Immortals are trying a lot of plays here, though. This is exactly what I think they need to be doing. Ideally before Baron hits item number 2 as well, because right now he's sitting on that Sorrow Blade. It looks like he's going for the Tension Bow second item, which I actually quite like. You've got a very squishy Dienzio that you can blow up, and also potentially, you know, with the build that T-Tiger is going, you want to kill him quite quickly in these fights before he actually gets weakness stacks down and starts sustaining, because he's not inherently that durable going for the Tension Bow and now into maybe a Poison Shiv. That being said, I do maybe want to see a Poison Shiv off of Super Shot at some point. Because later in this game, T-Tiger is going to be very, very hard to take down. Let's see what we can do with the Tension Bow spike, though. Maybe Echo Fox now, the ones who actually want to set up a play.
Well, Max Green has a gauntlet available. Slater wanted to make that play. T-Tiger still on the side. Pushes towards the top of the brush. Is he going to pull this trigger? Dienzio is off to the side. Doesn't it? Only has the Tension Bow to his name in terms of damaging items. There we go. Slater's found him. T-Tiger's gauntlet does come down. Flags are set to sail as they run them down here. Super Shot ends up falling to a smite. And that Ion Cannon does so much damage. Owen ends up falling under its might. And now it is Slater, the only left member alive for Fox. They're just going to run him down as well. Merciless Pursuit to get away. But chip, chop, chop goes the triple kill. T-Tigers, he's looking hella impressive as the Terse turret will go down as well. Immortals just turning that early game deficit around.
Very, very nice plays there. They, at the beginning, I was a little bit worried actually, because Super Shot, as soon as he got Tension Bow, made his way to the lane and looked to use the hidden information to make the play quickly before Immortals could adapt. They actually nearly took down Dienzio in that exchange, but with Immortals being able to back away and reevaluate, they knew what they could afford to do after that. And they are certainly a team that, once they train onto someone, can stick very, very convincingly to them. Just based off of the fact that, you know, they've got the Kroll, the Vox, the Arden. These are all heroes that dive effectively. Right now, I think Echo Fox need to start playing a little bit more passively. They're probably not going to be able to use Catherine to set up picks, necessarily. They've got a Samuel, they've got a Baron, they can play from range, they've got good disengage. Utilize those elements of the team comp, because now you're just too far behind to make the plays happen where and when you want them to.
Speaking of making plays, Dienzio does get stunned up, but like you said, it's very hard for now Echo Fox to even advance on Immortals. T-Tiger's in this brush. Handle Ghostly again. He's ready for an engagement. Does have From Hell's Heart available. Gauntlet is the only big cooldown now. Down for the side of Immortals. And now Fox a little bit more on the back foot than they'd like to be. With that Baron scaling up. Iron Cannon does come down, but it's going to find that gold miner. Here comes the Oblivion as well. T-Tigers is going to block it. It's actually going to get stolen by Fox, so they're actually going to start this fight. T-Tigers gets stunned up there. Merciless Pursuit to his death as he ends up falling first. Here comes the wait for it. Dienzio jumping on the back line. Gauntlet to separate them. All of the members separated. Slater goes down, but Dienzio is to follow. Super Shot's going to jump forward on top of Max. Is going to pick up that kill. The ace comes through for Fox, and again, another turnaround, and now with the ball is in Fox's court.
Yeah, that was a really, really nice decision there. I was talking about the macro play from Echo Fox in game number 1 being a little bit lackluster, and in fact, earlier in this game we saw that too. But deciding to make that play around the gold mine was really, really smart. They've got a lot of burst damage to try and steal it away, and assuming that they are able to get in there whilst Immortals are kind of distracted and maybe a little bit split and not in the position to dive onto one person right away, That buys a lot of time for Supershot to get his first tension bow hit in, start to do some good damage. They're all clumped on the gold mine, so it's going to splash. Irwin, he's got very obvious things that he can do in that kind of situation as well. So Immortals, I kind of question the decision to try and fight over gold mine instead of just trying to fight over turrets right now, or trying to fight over forward camps or sort of weaker jungle monsters that you can just turn off of and kill people off the back of. That's really what Immortals comp is great at. It's great at diving onto people. And we've seen them actually be able to do that very effectively so far in this game. That being said, I think even with that turnaround, not the perfect spot for Fox. You can see it here.
Well, they're just going to jump straight on in again, and Irwin's already deleted before I can even get the words out of my mouth. But Supershot, look at his damage. He's going to dive straight off to Dienzio. 1-for-1 trade, and now what can T-Tigers do? He can rush towards Supershot. Looking all too scary. Smite steals the kill, and Slater has to back off. T-Tigers running away with this game, but Supershot, you got to put it on him right now. He is really starting to pack a punch.
He really is, and Dienzio, this is something which just happens sometimes. Like, you kind of get Dienzio to trade into Irwin. Supershot dies into T-Tigers. That's not an abnormal flow for these fights, and I think that it's not something Immortals minds necessarily. But you can see that Supershot, after maybe one more item, is going to be in the position where he kills Dienzio so quickly that Dienzio can't find the damage onto who he's looking for. He does not have comparable burst damage that he can do. We're going to have to see a bit of a change of plan from Immortals later on. T-Tigers is going to need to get weakness stacks onto Supershot, or these fights just won't work. Echo Fox, they're getting to that point, but as I was in the process of saying when that fight broke out, they're not there yet. That fight around Goldmine was a special case.
Well, this might be another special case of a fight. Owen actually gets stunned up there. Look at the damage from Immortals. Just erase him. Another chasing after Supershot. Supershot's not long for the world. AJ, you said they got to change up the game plan, but apparently if you do the same thing over and over again, they just keep killing Fox. That's going to be Immortals with the ace there. They're going to push forward and take this tier 2 turret as well. My goodness. This engagement from them are perfect.
If the game went long enough. But if you're just going to keep the same plan and keep putting pressure on early, you don't ever need to get there, right? And that's what we're seeing. And I like where they're fighting, too. Like, they're fighting in a position where they can funnel Echo Fox into an easy chase situation where they can just dive. The gauntlet is going to be really good in that situation. It's going to force a jump jets out of Supershot quite quickly. That enables them to follow up with the dashes that they have on the Kroll, and with the Sonic Super Vox and all that kind of stuff. Also, now T-Tigers has got tier 3 boots. Good luck getting away from him. It's just not going to happen until Supershot has tier 3s of his own, or if the sort of game plan from Echo Fox changes to really focus on just keeping Supershot alive, even at the expense of Irwin in certain situations. So, yeah, Immortals, they're playing this game as they need to. The only mistake I think that they've made so far is going for that gold mine. Now with the Kraken on the board, I actually think they shouldn't try and leverage it right now. They should just keep putting the pressure on in a very forward way, get vision down. Once you go in and you have a very brutal fight where you get some good damage onto Echo Fox, then maybe you turn around and try and burn that Kraken down. But their Kraken taking is not that quick. So it's really, really difficult for Immortals, to try and leverage Kraken to get the fight they're looking for.
They're still looking for another fight here. Max Green does have that gauntlet, and T-Tigers is onto the side. He is the fastest pirate in the seas, and he is commanding the Black Pearl. Owen gets jumped on again. The target is perfect, and the target is right. That'll be the first kill going over to T-Tigers. Supershot having to jump away. Blastrummer as well does come out from Slater to force the Immortals disengage. They are just going to focus on this Crystal Sentry. However, just taking that one off the board will be a nice little booty for Immortals. Now, what do they do next? That Sentry has only got one life left. That Kraken is on the board, but it does look like they're just going to focus towards this lane.
All right, Immortals, what are they going to be able to get off the back of that pick is the question. With only 5 seconds left, they got to move now if they want to try and take down the turret.
Well, that's exactly what they are doing. Max Green going fairly low here. That turret is just getting chunked out. Dienzio is going to be able to secure it, and now T-Tigers using that boot active is going to be able to get away. War Treads from Fox, though, is going to provide some nice chase. T-Tigers blocking the Merciless Pursuit with the reflex. That's pretty nice from him, and will he be able to back off nice and safely? And now Echo Fox once more find themselves in this position from last game. Their base is cracked open, that Kraken's on the board, and Immortals, they're getting stronger by the second.
They are indeed. As I said, Echo Fox, if Immortals chooses to fight the wrong way or at the wrong time, certainly has the ability to turn it around. That's just the power of Baron. It does so much damage, it has such range that mispositioning is easily punished, especially for someone like this Vox. So really keep your eye on where Dienzio is standing in these fights. To patch over that, though, they do have T-Tigers and Nax Green, who as soon as a fight breaks out, can kind of just dive in and make something happen. It's really all about the positioning, though. If Immortals are positioned correctly, they should easily be able to jump onto Fox. Slata, look out for him right now.
Speaking of Immortals jumping onto people, Oblivion is going to come out here. We'll see if it does land. Silence does come through from Sailor as well, but it doesn't matter because Immortals are already on the back line. That'll be Baron falling. Owen's going to be next on the table. Kroll is just hitting and just chopping them down. This isn't even fair at this point. Immortals, they're just chasing after Slater now, looking for this ace. T-Tigers unrelenting on this Kroll. Slater trying to get away, but it's not going to be enough. He's just going to get chopped down. Scurvy is apparent. T-Tigers have got the oranges, and he is not sharing them with Slater. Dienzio's going to rotate now. We'll see if they just want to go for this Kraken or the end of the game. Does it like, in fact, they're just going to go towards this Kraken?
Yeah, I think going for the Kraken makes a lot of sense here. Why take the risk? This is a game that determines Immortals' ability to get into the Vainglory 8. Just play it slow, play it safe. You've kind of proven that in these fights, Echo Fox just isn't able to make them happen, and I highly doubt that with the Kraken bearing down on their base, that is going to change. It's about Immortals making sure they focus the right things when they get into the base. It depends on, where people are standing. I can't necessarily say they should definitely go for turrets until they get there, but they do have to make that right decision because a turnaround in the base with an ace and a Kraken does mean a lot of gold for Echo Fox, does mean a big push. They push very quickly, so Echo Fox are not out of it, but it really relies at this point, unfortunately, on Immortals making a bit of a misstep.
Well, it didn't happen last game, but Fox, they still have this scaling Baron. We'll see what they can do with it, and that's the question. Can he actually get online? He's got Monocles, he's got Tension Bow, Sorrow Blade, everything he needs, theoretically, but can he make it work? This Kraken bearing down now on Fox's base. Ion Cannon just for a little bit of damage. Dienzio gets stunned up here. They're actually just going to dive straight on him. Target selection's good. However, that Gauntlet isn't going to be all too much apparent here. It gets completely ignored. Echo Fox ignoring the damage coming out from Tigers, though. They're going to run down Super Shot, and Irwin just cowering under this turret. Slater has got a lot of stacks on him, but he's just going to chase down Irwin now. That Kraken, I think, is just going to end the base here. Fountain is going to heal them up. Dienzio almost falling. There goes the second turret, and Immortals will find the crystal. They're going to find the series, and Fox just looked completely dismembered.
They did indeed. There were some moments of real hope for Echo Fox. Honestly, they had a good early game. They just couldn't translate it effectively, and part of that was just not reading the sort of plays that Immortals wanted to make. For example, Slata moving up to the lane instead of backing and healing. It's very greedy. It's very greedy, not trying to play around the opportunities you're giving to your opponents. Echo Fox, let's see how they do in the rest of their games, but Immortals, man, looking real good.
They're looking all too good. And it was the T-Tigers show, but I haven't got any more pirate jokes left in me, so Munch, you guys are going to have to take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. What a game coming out from Immortals, and they are going to take the series 2-0 in the end against Echo Fox, which means Immortals have just about secured their spot in the Vainglory 8. And a phenomenal way to do it as well, getting that crawl pick in. I feel like more for style points than compositional strength, but they managed to make it work for themselves in the end. Although, Echo Fox had a few good fights towards the start of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of been the story for Echo Fox all season long, though, hasn't it? Really, like, they've shown signs, they've shown glimpses of potential, but just haven't been able to put it together. And unfortunately, with this loss, they are going to be dropped down to the Challenger Series for next split, and that is a very unfortunate situation for that team.
Yeah, this organization has seen this situation before as well. Unfortunate for Echo Fox. They had a better running in the Vainglory 8 this season than they did last, but unfortunately still not quite enough, and Immortals will move on through. But talk me through a couple of these fights, Dragonborn. What was happening here that gave Immortals the edge in the end?
Ultimately, they just weren't respecting on how good Immortals is coming back into a game, and specifically into a fight. When you go in, you're a little bit low health, and you let the team separate, all all of your abilities are going to come off cooldown and energy, so you're able to get back into a fight quickly, and they're not understanding the timing of that as well. And you see right here again, they'll go in, they'll rush really far, and then of course right here, Catherine not understand that. All right, they're going to get right back up. That barrier from the Krull is going to keep him alive. Arden's going to keep him alive. He can dive the turret almost, as far as he can run. And, Catherine needs to be a little bit more aware here. This is one of those glimmer of light here for Echo Fox, where they get the gold mine and the kill onto the Krull early. Really nice stun, actually, coming out of Slater. But, again, you always give up something here. Echo Fox not able to clean out these games and these fights. And ultimately, this breath of fresh air here was short-lived, because really soon Immortals figures that all out, comes in very, very fast. They do lose Zeo to the Baron, but it is going to be a pretty good fight here. And T-Tigers just goes right in, able to take out Super Shot.
Yeah, once again, Immortals, this was the kind of the turning point in the game, and from this point, Immortals, I don't think actually end up losing a fight. This was how the rest of the game played out, and Immortals, phenomenal job, and I think a deserved spot in the Vainglory 8. I think coming into this weekend, nobody was expecting them not to make it into the Vainglory 8, and now looking at the points, we have 3 teams on 4 points. Now, nobody on the bottom half of the scoreboard can contest those 4 points. The rest of the day is going to be all about seeding. Who can be that first seed coming in? Who's going to be able to decide on their points going forward? But it does mean Hammers are going to be our only team that actually stays in the Vainglory 8. And speaking of Hammers, they're going to be our next matchup here today. Hammers versus Rogue is going to be coming to our screens. Now, as you just saw there, they're both already qualified at this stage, but they're going to be battling for seeding. Whoever can win this series will be the #1 seed going into the Vainglory 8, and therefore will get the choice of slot that they want to take. Let's talk about Hammers quickly before we jump onto this one. Playboy Afro, along with Starting All Over and Archaic, will be the roster.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for Hammers. I mean, they showed up in a big way yesterday. 4 wins. That is doubling their win total from the 4 weeks of Vainglory 8 play that we have seen. And by securing their spot, they are guaranteed to retain their spot in the Vainglory 8. They keep their points. They keep their remaining schedule. So for them, this upcoming game is just about pride and about putting a little bit of a cloud over Rogue's parade, as Rogue obviously wants to try and get those points to finish in a higher placing than Immortals and get their choice of the 2 remaining spots.
Yeah, for sure. It's all on the line for Rogue and Immortals in this series, really. I mean, Hammers, it doesn't really make too much difference how well they do in this series.
As long as they got in, they're fine. So.
All about Rogue. Let's take a look at the Rogue roster coming on in as well. Evil, Hammy, and Pon, the original. There were questions about whether Pon would be able to come to the challenge battles today and yesterday. Obviously, he played yesterday, and they had a phenomenal job, but today, Sibs is going to be subbing in instead of Pon. What does that do to this roster, Dragonborn?
Well, we haven't actually seen Sibs play during the challenge battles. We really don't know. Of course, we know with him in the roster, they almost were able to escape challenge battle defeat last season. Unfortunately, not quite enough. Of course, going up against Nova, which we know how strong they can play. But he does offer a lot. He's a strong carry in the jungle. He is really smart. And I think him playing, being underneath where Pon was, he probably picked up a few tricks. And if he did, that's going to be great, because Pon, the original, has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. And those are things that are great at countering, off-the-wall comps or even meta comps at times. So if Sibs has been practicing and if he comes in here warm, they should be able to take a game off Hammers. They really need to get a better seeding.
Yeah, they certainly are going to be wanting to be putting their best foot forward coming on into this series. And there's a lot on the line, especially for Rogue. And one of the players we're going to be keeping our eyes on is going to be Hammy for Rogue. He's had a good performance yesterday. He's going up against Starting All Over in that carry position. Huge amount of pressure on the shoulders of Hammy right now if they want to get that first seed position.
Yeah, they really need him to step up in a big way, because obviously, even though Sibs is a very talented player and they have that synergy, they've played on a team before, like this was the Rogue roster of last year, they still need to step up and be able to take this victory against a Hammers team that I don't know if we can really say we know what to expect out of them, because if they show up as the team that played yesterday, they're a very strong-looking squad. But if the same Hammers that showed up, if the same Hammer shows up that has showed up for the first 4 weeks of Vainglory 8, then this should be a fairly easy match for Rogue.
This is the weird thing, because we've seen kind of two different versions of Hammers that, they've had the same roster but totally different performances. And we're going to see a different version of Rogue today because they've got a different jungler. Pond's not able to play. So who knows what the teams will be coming into this one. But one thing we can be sure of is the kind of picks we expect. We know the comfort picks. We know the pocket picks. Dragonmon, what are you expecting coming into this game from these two teams?
Well, I really think that we're going to see a lot of emphasis on Hammers to try to get Archaic on something aggressive. Samuel or Koshka. I mean, he plays them well. I think the Koshka's tricky because a lot of these top teams know how to deal with it, but we've seen it come out and ready and be very effective. One of the things, though, starting all over, his best player so far in the challenge battles has been Kestrel. He's performed very well, and I think that's a priority for them as well. Rogue, on the other hand, it's really about making Sibs feel comfortable and putting him on something he knows he can win with, because if you try to make him play like Pond and he's not ready for it, it could be problematic.
Certainly could. Well, the draft is underway, and it's time to see how this first game of the series is going to pan out when it comes to these hero picks. Now, Hammers on the A side and Rogue on the B side. We'll see how this one is going to turn out, with Hammers taking the initiative here and banning away the Grace.
Yeah, and it's Grace off the board, and that's going to be Lyra taken away by Rogue. So they're kind of telling Hammers, hey, you can take this Baron if you want it, but Hammers, they're going to go right to that Kestrel. This is the comfort pick for starting, and this is something that Hammers as an organization has done before, where they forego other power picks, other picks that are considered the top tier picks in the meta, to make sure that starting all over is on his comfort pick. They did it last season a lot with the Ringo. Now they're going to be doing it with the Kestrel.
And first pick here for Catherine on Rogue's side, because the Kestrel came out. I'm surprised they went Kestrel first. That's really playing and putting your hand out there for all to see. Skyban, I think here Hammers now just needs to just look at, putting the jungle maybe on something a little less potent. So we usually see a ban here for Samuel, but because the laner's not picked yet, it could be an Idris ban, although I think Hammers likes their Kestrel into Idris.
Yeah, I mean, Baron also still making it on through the draft so far, so potential ban there, but it's going to be Vox taken off the board. Now, do you go for a Baron right here with Idris available? Like, could this Kestrel go to the jungle? Is this just going to be something starting once? The Baron is going to be picked up.
I think it's so heavily a starting all over pick that you can take it and rest assured that the Idris is likely to not get picked up. So that's exactly what we're going to see. The Samuel comes through for Hammers. I like them taking the Samuel away because Sibs, one of his better heroes, I felt, from the previous seasons has been his Samuel. So it's a smart pickup there by Hammers. Not just a pick that Archaic is very good on, but also a takeaway from Sibs. And so now with the Arden pickup, it is going to be Sibs getting the final pick of this draft. It's a lot of pressure to put on someone and say, our counter pick, our final pick to answer what our opponents have is going to go to our substitute for today. Well, it's a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
Realistically, he's going to be in comms with the rest of his team. It's not like it's his pick solely. He will have to play it, but you would hope it'll be something that he's comfortable on. Apparently, he's comfortable on Cruel, because that is going to be the final pick of the draft. I've got to say, in the last couple of weeks of Vainglory Esports, we've seen a lot more Cruel than I was ever anticipating. What is the thought process behind locking in a Cruel here for Rogue? How is this the correct final pick, Dragonborn?
Well, we just saw it work in one case. It's definitely something that we see when a top team plays something like a Cruel and it's shown to be effective. Teams want to emulate it. It's a little risky because I actually think it's not going to work out as well as they think when you've got the Samuel and the Kestrel basically blowing you up as you try to push in on the Cruel. The Cruel wants to lock in on a target and put those weakness stacks, but if they can get there, a timely silence might help. The Cruel can get onto a carry, and then that really reduces that carry's effectiveness, and that's going to be the goal. The other thing, too, is it's kind of a distraction. We see this oftentimes where you have a really strong hyper carry in the lane. You want something to just get into the fight and distract, absorb a lot of that damage. Yeah. So I think that's going to be how they're going to have to play, but it's a little risky if you're taking away your jungler, saying, all right, you're just going to be absorbing damage.
Yeah, that's kind of what we saw from Arona earlier on today as well. What are your thoughts on the drafts quickly, Greg?
I like the Cruel into Samuel because you build up those weakness stacks and the Malice and Verdict suddenly stop hurting as much. Samuel doesn't have as much sustain, but a weapon Kestrel is very strong against Cruel because the time between Dead Man's Rush connecting and your first attack, Kestrel can actually go invisible during that time period and counter out everything he's trying to do.
All right, well, we'll see if that is going to come to pass in this game. It's time to head on into this series. Let us know who you are going to be supporting. Who do you want to be the #1 seed? Let us know on Twitter using that hashtag Vainglory8. But it's time to jump onto the map and get on into this series. It's the Hollywood Hammers up against Rogue.
Thank you very much, guys. Hollywood Hammers coming off a very, very strong couple of wins yesterday, even beating out Immortals of all people. We'll see if Rogue can be the next star on their walk.
Yeah, honestly, Hammers had just an incredible performance in their games yesterday. I was absolutely blown away by what they were able to pull off. It wasn't always just dominant games. Sometimes they were actually, fighting pretty tooth and nail, but it still worked out. They were certainly pretty high-octane games, but I do think that Hammers is one of the teams to really watch right now. And it's actually kind of interesting drawing the parallel that Hammers had when Starting All Over joined the roster at the beginning of spring this year, and how they sort of began as like strong team, but a bit iffy. Now they've had a while with the new lineup. It's been kind of iffy, but suddenly they're looking really, really good again. And Starting All Over had actually made a tweet a while ago saying, oh, I got to start all over with a new team, got to train them up. Seems like maybe it took some time, and he's finally gotten to that point. That's honestly how I'm seeing the lineup right now. Rogue, on the other hand, this is a team that I think showed me some of the best play I've ever seen from them in their games yesterday. They looked really quite strong in a number of ways, especially their team fighting together. Whether or not they can keep that rolling, though, is a very different question.
We'll have to wait and see how the game does progress. And at the moment, it's looking pretty good for Sibs. Hasn't really had too many invasions here coming out from Archaic and Playboy Afro. In fact, most of the action actually happening in the lane. And Archaic has pinned... Well, at least I've pinned him as, AJ. I don't know about yourself, but I've pinned him as this kind of just incredible jungler that can stand up to many of the best up in the VG8. And he's just looking absolutely fantastic. He did yesterday. I want to see if he can carry on that performance now. He's on this Samuel coming up against Sibs. Is Cruel, and we've seen Cruel played by Immortals very well. I want to see how they're going to do it in this game, because the kiting potential is all too real for Hammers, although Archaic is going to get found. Actually has to pop those boots to get away. Sibs using that smite. Archaic taking a lot of damage. Same with Playboy after. Actually has to disengage and completely fall back to their turrets, and Starting All Over wasn't there to help them.
Yeah, that really showed you how much damage a Crow can do early on with two weapon blades like this. Really, really strong stuff coming out of Sibs. He's going for an invade here and should easily be able to pick up both of these back camps. So Archaic, yeah, he didn't lose his entire jungle off the back of that very, very bad trade, but it certainly has not gone well for him. And Sibs, this is interesting actually, he's decided to actually go back to base, leaving Evil in a bit of a rough position.
Yeah, Evil actually might just end up falling down here. Yeah, I think he's kind of given up on his own life. There we go. Archaic will take first blood. Going back there, leaving your support. Not something you want to do all the time. Captains can't be captains forever, especially when they have no HP. Does end up falling down. That'll give Archaic a nice first kill here and a couple of camps to boot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just some poor communication. Sibs was like, look, let's leverage the advantage we just gained. I just got a bunch of money that I have over my jungle opponent. So, let's spend it, come back and fight again, and we'll be in an even better position. Evol was like, let's keep this ball rolling, let's keep the momentum going, let's try and steal some more. And those two plans did not sync, but not only did they not sync, but like neither one of them seemed to back down. Evol was just like, I'm going for this camp. I'm going. It's going to happen.
Well, Sibs is actually going to find himself Playboy Afro again. And in fact, he's going to find himself Archaic. He's going to run him down. Evo's going to be there to back him up as well. That smite comes through. Not quite enough to finish off Sibs. Maybe still want to go for something here. Hammy's going to back him up as well. Nice stun on Starting All Over. Double rocket does come through, but Sibs takes too many tower hits. That does mean Rogue are actually going to have to disengage, but Hammers, they are hurting, they are bleeding out. They will end up going back towards the lane here, but Rogue, they're going to be able to steal a couple of camps yet again.
Yeah, Sibs, if he was going proc build and had some cooldown reduction already, that probably would have been a kill just because of the fact that he would have had smite twice in the fight. He did not have it for Starting All Over because he'd already used it on Archaic and did not get the kill. I would quite like to see maybe early level 2 boots here, like right after the tension bow from Sibs. If this is the style of game he is going to play, that really facilitates it. And I think it will help him get the couple of attacks extra that he needs to make smite lethal in these situations. But already having the tension bow does mean that maybe he's just got enough damage. We'll see what happens the next time he makes a rotation into the enemy jungle. I really like the aggression coming out of Rogue here, though. They're making a lot of space for Hammy to farm very safely just by putting pressure on the jungle.
Exactly what they are doing. And now Hammy playing very not so safe at the moment with that Sorrow Blade. Definitely wants to make sure starting all over feels the burn of that item. Now Rogue really... The ball is in their play pen. We'll see what they want to do with it. With Sibs up in this top side. Yet again, is Cruel doing what Cruel does. Sit in this top brush, wait for a Hell's Heart to actually land. And then Rogue just dogpile onto the person it does actually strike. Now, when does he unleash it? It's going to be now from Hell's Heart. There's the boomerang. Ends up missing. Starting all over. Still going to get jumped on, though. That Smite's doing a lot of damage. Sibs still chasing this one up. That turret is just going to finish him off, though. Starting all over. Picks up that kill. Playboy Afro having to pop that fountain, though. Keeps him alive. And that was a bit of an overextension from Sibs there.
So, from Hell's Heart, if it's coming from a bush like that, is like 90% of the time just going to land. It's really hard to react to it. Maybe you get your stealth down. Whoa, evil. Cool off. Maybe you get your stealth down, but you still get hit, right? Like, actually moving out of the way is really hard. But Sibs kind of expected, for some reason, that starting all over would be able to react in time, and there was no way that was going to happen. He threw it behind him. Starting actually did react quickly, but in a very different way. He decided to dodge instead, and Hammy had already burned his jump jets to get into the fight, but Starting had already gone stealth, so he didn't get the double attack onto the target that Sibs decided to dive. Overall, unfortunately, it was just a mess. Like, everything kind of went wrong simultaneously there. For Rogue, in that situation, bailing is probably the right decision, but, you know, it makes sense that Sibs was committed to the play. In the moment, it's hard to make the assessment that it just went wrong and you got to give it up.
Oh, Sibs is coming back in. Has from Hell's Heart available to him once again. There goes the gauntlet. Doesn't stun up anybody whatsoever. In fact, Playboy Afro actually stuck in the middle of it. Nice Oblivion onto two members of Rogue. Keeps them sleeping for the moment. They do end up waking up, and Sibs is going to get spotted here again. From Hell's Heart is still available to... Oh, no, it's not. It got used in the last fight. Didn't see that. Sibs still getting chunking out here. Hollywood Hammer's still chasing them up, but that fountain is going to heal them up good and proper. Now, Hammy, is he going to be able to get the damage necessary down without a stun, without anything much? Is it going to be all too pretty for him? Archaic not looking so hot right now, though. Ends up having to back off. Now, once again, Hollywood Hammer's playing on the back foot here. Sibs just cannot find these kills, though, even just committing that massive ultimate.
Yeah, I do like the fact that Rogue is continuing to apply pressure, though. Whilst that one fight did not go well for them, they are still in a good position, I would say. And the more they apply pressure now, the more it's forcing the hands of Hammers. You know, Hammers would like to go and heal at some point. They'd like to go spend their money. 1,300 gold, 1,000, 1,200. They've all got a lot of money in the bank, but they cannot afford to leave lane because Rogue is applying so much pressure. And in fact, Hammers is trying to transition that situation that Rogue forced them into, and they do successfully do this, into a turret kill. Now, Sibs, had he been there, had he continued applying pressure with his team, would have been able to shut that down, but Hammers, I mean, that was a macro outplay, is what happened right now.
Yeah, that turret does end up falling. Sibs may be looking for this turret of his own, and Hammy is going to use that beautiful rocket jump to it, able to secure it. There goes the smite as well from Sibs. Now, it's all on Hammers to maybe follow up something here. Sibs actually going in. From Hell's Heart does land on Arcade, but he's all alone. Iron Cannon's going to come through as well from Hammy, who's just completely off screen. Ends up going down once again, and Hammers find themselves a kill off of that turret loss.
Oh man, Rogue, they keep being in good situations and then losing that. It's really doing a lot of work for Hammers right now. They're not the team, especially against this Kroll with Tension Bow, that you'd expect to necessarily do that well early on. They do have good damage if you know, Sibs takes the wrong avenue into a fight. Hammers can't turn it around. Oh, what a steal!
Oh my goodness, the steal from Hammy. That's looking good in their bank balances now. Evil's going to chase down Archaic, but is going to be able to get away, and that Crystal Sentry I think will be on the next for Rogue, the next list of agenda. Nope, they're just going to let it reset. So nice steal from Rogue there, again coming back into it. The gold only just in their favor now, but still you got to say Hollywood Hammers playing the macro game to a T.
They are right now, but at the same time, very unfortunate situation there with Hammy stealing away the gold mine. I do think that Hammers are playing the macro game a bit better overall. They got to keep that ball rolling though. I'd like to see, from the side of Rogue, more pressure. Still with Sibs, he needs to come in from flank angles. If he walks in a very straight line at Hammers, then Malice Verdict, Glimmer Shot, that will chunk him down. He's not particularly tanky, even though I like the fact that he's gone for this Aegis as a second pickup. But again, Rogue, they're the ones who can set the tempo. They've got these 2 tension bows. We just got a tornado trigger on Hammy. They can blow up the double threats on Hammers very, very fast. They are not durable, and Playboy Afro can only do so much.
He can indeed. He's got the Vanguard, and that's all he's going to really provide. Hell's Heart does land. It does land onto starting all over. There comes the dog pile. There comes the damage. Oh my goodness, obliterated, liquefied, whatever, any of the above, AJ. That is where starting all over is going to be. Playboy Afro using that gauntlet just for the disengage tool. Archaic is going to come round. The Ion Cannon is going to find that kill. Nice placement from Happy. Hammy, even he's looking happy at least. Double kill over the wall with those rockets. Ace comes through for Rogue, and they're coming back on the board. Crystal Sentry is going to go down, and they're going to push onto this turret as well.
Right on, Rogue. That was exactly what I was looking for them to do. When is the last time, Jaws, you saw an Ion Cannon snipe someone? That was actually pretty impressive from Hammy. I do not see that often.
Hang on a second. Starting all over, gets flared out. See you later. Sibs picks the kill up. Oh, dear. That was just sad. As soon as you get flared out as a Kestrel, you know your life is done. That turret's life is also as good as gone. And that'll be the second one on the board now for Rogue.
Really, really strong stuff. Rogue has managed to really set this game off to a good position here heading into the mid-game. The early game was a bit more back and forth, of course, but since the spike where Hammy got the tornado trigger, it seems like they feel much more confident. Now they've actually got a poison chip on Sibs as well. It's going to be very difficult for Hammers to survive these fights. I want to see... The focus needs to be for Hammers on positioning well. That means they need to know what angle Rogue is coming from, so they need to have good vision, and they need to be able to trade off who is the one in position to be aggressed on, right? Like, starting all over an Archaic, there's no scenario where both of them are just fine throughout the fight, so try and fight for a while with maybe starting taking the damage. He's weapon power, he can get stealth in the middle of the fight. You go for the stealth, you swap their aggro, as it were, onto Archaic, and you try and do some more. Meanwhile, Playboy Afro, he's got to go back and forth between the teams. Look at this, Evol going for Contraption, beautiful pickup. I really, really like that into the Kestrel, but also just because they want to be visioning, I guess is the word for it, all of what Hammers is putting down so they can get the flanks with Sibs. Really strong stuff.
De-trapping, I think is a better word for that one. Playboy Afro is going to get chased down, though. He's going to get caught up. There comes the Ion Cannon from Hell's Heart's actually going to get blocked. Starting all over did find that giant axe, but Playboy Afro popping the fountain to keep alive. One shot, one kill, go a little bit wide. Rogue's members are just going to dodge out the way of that one. Playboy Afro trying to get some vision down, was completely cleared by Rogue, and he gets chased up. And now Rogue, once again, in the driver's seat of this game. They are just running away with it seems. It looked all Hollywood Hammers game in the first couple of minutes, but now, turning this one around, the Goldies in their favour, 3,000 in their pocket. That Sentry's going to go down again. One life remaining on that one, AJ. And I got to say, Rogue, that Baron's coming online, and their late game is looking all too terrifying.
Yeah, Rogue's late game is great. I mean, Hammers has a respectable late game too, though. Definitely got to keep that in mind. Samuel is someone who can do a lot of work there. With the Kestrel, they've got a lot of range, and it really says to Rogue, you got to commit to a fight if you want to pick it up, which can be difficult into the Gauntlet, for example. That being said, I do think that Evil going for this Contraption, I mean, it's more impactful than you might think. It really lets them make the decisions on when they want to commit for a fight versus just sort of idly think about one. Because in a lot of situations, you might see two people and you're like, well, if Archaic, let's say, is right behind them, then we don't want to go in. But if Archaic is at this jungle camp, like 2 seconds away, then we have the opportunity to burst someone because we have two very high burst heroes. So having the ability to just flare there, no matter what, without spending more money and being able to itemize more defensively on top, does a lot for Evol. It's not something you can really do if you're behind, because you just need the actual defensive itemization. But when you're this ahead, in this way, and when you want to actually end the game sooner than later, Contraption can really set you up for the kinds of plays you're looking for.
Well, it's working out so far for them. Like you said, clearing out all of the vision from Hollywood Hammers jungle. Just flares going out now. Rogue, they did send the From Hell's Heart out. It did end up missing. They only managed to proc Archaic's reflex block, but it's not going to be too much a worry for them. It's going to take up another gold miner, and now Rogue, again, firm control, and is now, what do they do with it? They just need to be able to seize these turrets, AJ. But the issue is, Hollywood Hammers, yes, they're getting stronger, but we need starting all over to survive these fights. The initial engagement, the kite back, in order for them to actually lay down any meaningful damage. Rogue's all-in composition is working out time and time again. That Kraken on the board now for both teams, and Rogue, they're looking to force it maybe. That Crystal Century will fall, and that'll be the end of that.
Yep, nice stuff by Rogue, going for it basically on timer, on spawn every single time to actually lock that in early into the game. Does give them a lot of room on the map. They can safely move up and use that contraption to get vision in the bottom part of the jungle on Hammer's side. You were talking about starting all over and surviving through these fights. It's not just that he needs to survive through the fights. If you look at his build, it isn't necessarily that much even about fighting a longer fight. It's got a lot of upfront damage. 2 Tyrant's Monocles and a Sara Blade isn't the kind of build that needs you to survive that long, but what it does need is for you to have the right position at the beginning of a fight to kill someone quickly. Against flares, that is not easy. It's hard to find the flank. By the way, Harris, they have no idea this is happening. Or do
I don't know. That
I guess
one
they
shot,
do.
one kill did come out. Yeah, it did actually strike Evo. They're going to run down, and Evo's going to come through. War Treads. Here comes Sibs from Hell's Heart. It's going to get blocked, but it's not going to matter. Gauntlet comes down as well. Starting all over in the
Nice
back.
stun.
Beautiful active camo trap, actually. That's a 1-for-1 trade at the moment. Hammy's going to dodge straight forward, straight onto Playboy Afro. Starting all over, getting the recall off. Will Evo be able to stop him? No, he will not. Hammy chasing down Playboy now. Baron, lowest base move speed in the game. Jump jets, double rocket, 500 damage, unbeatable. Hammy's on fire, he's 5-0, Kraken on the board. And now Evo looking for the kill on starting all over. But that Kraken is going to do a mean bit of work to that turret.
I mean, right from the beginning of that fight, Hammers were on the back foot. Archaic was way, way out of position. I like that Sibs actually waited a second to get the speed up. He didn't need to immediately go onto Archaic because, well, Archaic was already in a terrible position. Hammy, look at this damage!
Oh, it's all too much. Hammy is popping the reflex block. It actually dies in midair too, starting all over. But now they actually need to focus their attention onto that Kraken. Oh my goodness, that was... That's embarrassing. That's for the highlight reel there, AJ. That was interesting use. They're starting, but he ends up falling, and that Kraken is going to push even harder now. That tier 3 turret is falling.
Of this, he is never going to live that down.
Is he going to? Oh, so close. The Kraken brought his arms up. It brings them down. He ends up falling over, but still, Hammer's losing a turret in a bit, and starting all over, basically killing himself.
And, basically, he did. He just did. He just straight up did.
No,
that was fantastic. Oh my goodness, that was fantastic. Evo, he's gonna be picking himself up. A no wave gauntlet. I like that a lot. There's really Hammers relies on the Crucible and the Fountain. You know, there's not a ton of defensive itemization on the carries for Hammers. In fact, there's basically none on starting. So locking down Playboy's active items pretty much guarantees that if you get onto starting, he's gonna die. You know, we've seen in a couple of these fights actually how critical those Crucibles have been with starting all over, being able to get away from Hell's Heart. Right now, though, Hammers, when you're thinking about what you need to do...
Oh, that was close.
Man, that was close, yeah. When you're thinking about what they need to do, they just need to play very safe. I like that they all backed together there, just clearing the wave up. Next time Kraken's on the map, though, they do need to address that, or things could get very hairy very quickly.
I must say, if Sibs threw out the From Hell's Heart there, it was a very fast travel time. They have been able to catch him, but he didn't. Decided to actually hold on to the cooldown. And now we are 18, approaching 19 minutes in the game. It was all Hammer's macro early game rotations that really set them up. Just this mid game, Rogue has just been able to take over. And now Hammy truly online. He's got that 4-item build with the full boots. In fact, he's just got a full straight up build here. He's looking oh so terrifying. Rogue may be looking for an engagement here. Beautiful stun over the wall, straight on Archaic. He goes down, and that will be starting all over, falling as well. Hammy follows that up with a couple double rockets. He's looking for that triple kill. He's looking for that ace, but I think Rogue are just going to look for the base. That'll be Rogue taking game number 1 over Hollywood Hammers. And you got to say, that was with style.
It was indeed very strong stuff from Rogue. They had a hairy moment or two in the middle, but they were able to pull it back. And Hammy on this Baron that's ban-worthy for me. This guy made some serious plays. He really did a lot of work. Sibs as well. Yeah, sometimes he went too far. Yeah, all right, I'll give you that. But he did buy a lot of time and create a lot of space for his carry. Ultimately, that's what you need to be doing as that call.
Oh, it didn't work out for Hollywood this time. The stars have dimmed, and it'll be Rogue taking that game number 1. I mean, you gotta put it to him, AJ. Baron has to be banned, but we'll have to see what they want to do in their next pick and ban phase. We're going to jump straight over to the desk, however, and they are going to break down that game a little bit more.
Well, we said Hammy was the man to watch, and with a 7-1-3 scoreline, he certainly lived up to that reputation. Turns out when you let Baron through the draft, you can do a lot of damage in these games, and that's a common theme across the challenge battles, but Rogue starting things off strong here.
Yeah, really a good start for Rogue, getting themselves that point that they are desperately looking for so that they can try and take that number 1 spot.
Oh, yeah.
Good first step for them, and it's really going to be a situation for Rogue now where if they can just continue on this path, this is making a name for themselves, not just getting into the Vainglory 8, but getting into the Vainglory 8 with a message being sent to the rest of the league.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've guaranteed themselves second place at this point. Even if they lose the next 2 games, they'll still have the second seed spot for North America. But Dragonmon, talk me through what went wrong here for Hammers. Like, where was the Hammers from yesterday here?
Well, I mean, it didn't start off all too bad, but as you know, there are this thing called Baron, which does scale really well into the late game. And so as time went on, it started to hurt. One of the things that we talked about before was how the Cruel pick was going to kind of be a decoy of sort, going in really deep. And at first, going in too deep, Rogue made a few mistakes, and of course, Hammers was able to capitalize on it. But then you saw him go in, nice fountain there as well. Sims maybe going a little bit too far forward, but as we got later and later into the game, things started to change. This is a nice combo here to take the gold mine, and of course, catching out Hammers completely there, and just disrespect for what Baron can do.
I love this one here. This play right here, Hammy, knowing his ranges, walks into where the Crystal Miner is, or the Crystal Sentry is, instead of going all the way around to solidify the kill, knowing the range that he would be able to still be in range to get that hit. Really smart play.
Yeah, Hammy really stepped up in this game, and I mean, starting all over, wasn't really able to have that same effect on Kestrel of what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, when we saw starting on Kestrel, he was demolishing teams, but just not really able to have the same kind of impact in these games here today, or in this game specifically. We'll see if that can continue to be the case. But then, towards the end of the game, it started to go more and more Rogue's way with every single fight.
Yeah, Hammy came online. The late game really helped push and help Rogue win that fight and give them a new hope. So really good looking team.
And again, in that last replay there, again, just a heads-up play from Hammy, recognizing that he couldn't reach the Arden by just walking, so he attacks the minions a few times because every attack lowers the cooldown of those jump jets, gets the jump jets off cooldown, and finishes off the kill to help solidify the game.
Yeah, really, really nicely played from Hammy. And now looking towards the second game in this series, is this once again, I feel like I've asked this question 100 times across the weekend, is this a matter of just having to ban Baron? Can you just not let this pick through? Or is there more to the conversation here?
There's more to it, but it depends on what you have taken and what you're planning on taking. They let the Baron through without having anything in their composition to counter the Baron. And I think part of it may have actually been Rogue not picking that Baron right away and kind of making maybe Hammers think, okay, maybe they don't play the Baron. And so they just kind of did their draft, and then all of a sudden the Baron as a last pick catches them off guard, catches them without a hard counter to it, and there just wasn't really much that they were able to do once the Baron got online.
I mean, Dragonmon, what is your anticipation of this draft now? Like, what do Hammers have to do to change things up now that they are on the B side? They can go for these counter picks themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and with the Catherine being picked early for Rogue in the last game, that's a decent counter as a support. But there were a lot of issues, and of course, the Cruel play, that bruiser that goes in is really nice. So I think if you're Hammers, you just got to be aware, right? If there is a Baron picked, you need to be aware of what else is coming before or after it. I do think that Rogue might decide to ban Baron here or leave it open to try to pick it up again, because they do feel like with that victory, they might be able to. A lot of time thinking about Graces. This is the ban. I like this because now it forces Hammers to make the decision to ban it, and Hammers might not ban Baron again.
Going to go for the Lyra banner. That means Rogue, if they want, could go with this Baron pick. Hammers, they're going to be able to get that option of a counter pick. Idris is available, and plenty of other things that can work into Baron so long as you build the composition correctly.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough choice for Rogue if they want to take the risk of Baron and having it possibly be countered, but they're going to go right for it, not having any fear against it. I mean, we saw Starting All Over did run the Idris yesterday, but didn't really look super impressive with it. So maybe a situation where Rogue is just confident enough that the Baron will be able to outplay Starting All Over's Idris if they go for it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised with the Idris play, unless Starting All Over wants to make a statement that he can get back into it, that they would pick it. We do typically see he might go with a support here because I don't know if they're sure yet, but we do see a priority on Hammers. They really like having that Kestrel play and maybe getting a Samuel in the jungle.
Well, we'll see if those picks are going to come to fruition. Idris will be the pickup here. Unsurprising, really, when you consider the Baron for Rogue. It's definitely, Idris has been the pick to try and deal with the Baron, generally speaking. Although, it's not been as successful sometimes as we would have liked. Kroll going to be the ban, though, coming on through. And now, looking towards the side of Rogue, what do you want to take away here? What, as a Baron, do you not want to deal with? Or is Idris kind of the linchpin of that definition?
Idris is the main one. I could see them going for a Catherine ban as well, because Catherine can work really well against a Baron just by getting the shields up, and that's exactly what they're going to take away. The Storm Guard and just having that very rapid cooldown stun available can do some pretty serious work against the Baron. So.
And against Tribe, they did pick up Koshka in the jungle in this circumstance, and they were very effective with it. But I'd be surprised if they did it again. A different team, Rogue's a different look completely, and a lot of teams do know how to deal with the Koshka throughout most of the game. But if they that early aggression from Archaic, it is a lot to deal with. It's going to be a Samuel, though, and again, this is another pick that's really great because there's so much poke, and you really can't dive too far in once that Drifting Darkness is up.
For sure. Samuel locked on in. Samuel has been a staple jungler across the course of the challenge battles and across the course of Vainglory 8 as well. Just a very solid all-around pick in most situations. But a Finn and a Kestrel going to be the counterlock here for Rogue, which means Starting All Over will not get his comfort pick of that Kestrel.
I mean, he wasn't going to be getting that regardless because they already have the Idris Samuel.
Very true.
But
very true.
It is going to be now up to this final pick. The Samuel, I think, is a really smart pick here. Can try and keep the Idris off target with all of the displacement and crowd control he has, and can also try and be that big tanky front line to block out those Malice and Verdicts coming out of the Samuel. It's going to require some creative angles to be found by Archaic. And now for this captain pick. You know, a lot of the captains been taken off the table now, so they're going to have to dig deep into the well and go for the Fortress.
All right, Fortress coming on out. I love to see a Fortress every now and then. It can be so powerful used correctly. Forces an aggressive style of play, though, when you lock this in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually a great way, you know, in certain situations to like find someone that's invisible like a Kestrel. So you can just, you know, when you're chasing, you can't have someone just disappear on you. More importantly, as you get to late game, it's a great way to just hold a team where they're at. They can't recall. It's hard to disengage. So there's a lot of utility late game that Fortress can have, also early game as well. So Fortress, situational pick, but it's one that if used correctly is really potent.
Yeah, so really powerful pick. How are we expecting these games to play out then, Bacon? Like, what are the team compositions going to try and achieve?
Early aggression has to be the name of the game here for Hammers. I expect the Fortress to go try and be a nuisance. Level 1, allow the Samuel to get to level 2 and come in with the level advantage in the early game and look for them to press that advantage as hard as possible.
All right, what's your anticipation, Dragon Ball? Do you think they're going to be able to pull that aggression off here?
I think so. I think they will. And it's worth noting that now that Rogue won, they have the better advantage, so they're going to get the better seeding, it appears, which is going to give them a new hope and hopefully strike back into the fold.
All right, well, we'll see if that's going to come to fruition here. Now, I believe we've got a small delay while we wait for one of the players to be ready. What is it on the side of Rogue that they can do to stop this aggression, to keep themselves in the game and tide themselves over so that they can win later on?
I mean, they have a Baron, so it's just going to be, you know, playing very defensively, not being afraid to use those jump jets early on to get out of a fight. You don't always have to get the double attacks off of the jump jets. You can just use them to disengage and walk away. I think that's going to be very important for them to, you know, make sure they use those jump jets properly throughout the early stages of the game.
So all about protecting that Baron, keeping the hyper carry alive. We'll see if it's going to be possible for them. Certainly going to be an interesting one. Going against a Fortress as well. I know if you guys have played against a Fortress as Baron in solo queue, it can be very difficult to keep yourself alive, keep yourself away. And also, some of those wolves can be really useful in blocking abilities and just getting in the way during the fights. I mean, is this going to be a situation where we'll start to see, like, if they can weather through the mid game, there'll be a certain fight where everything just tips the way of the Baron?
I don't think they even need to wait until the mid game. I think even still, like, they don't have to get past the mid game, I should say, because in the mid game, you know, it's a CP Kestrel. CP Kestrel does a ton of damage still, and if you get into a nice little position up in the lane especially, that they're not expecting on the side of Hammers, all of a sudden jump jets forward with a couple of glimmer shots from a CP Kestrel, and you're dead. Like, that's not, there's nothing you can really do against that. There's not really much counterplay other than vision, so the vision is going to be equally as important as getting an early lead for the Samuel.
All right, well, it's just about time to jump on into this game. Let us know who you are going to be supporting on social media using that hashtag Vainglory8. It is time to get into the second game of this series. They're fighting for seeding. Let's kick off this second game between Rogue and Hollywood Hammers.
Thanks very much, guys. Rogue versus Hollywood Hammers. Game number 2 here, AJ. Bit of a different competition coming out from both teams, but Hammy yet again is going to be on that Baron.
I think that's an absolute critical fact here for the side of Rogue. I also really like that they were able to pick up the Finn. This is something that I think we've seen a lot of good work being done by Evol on in the past. So exciting stuff there. Sibs, very, very good player on the Kestrel too. I think this is a composition Rogue can work with. On the side of Hammers, though, I am a little bit less certain of how comfortable this composition is. I do think that there's power here. I think that there's some ability to work well into what they're up against. But definitely, you know, is starting Idris going to be where it needs to be? Is Playboy Afro going to be able to do enough work on the Fortress? These are definitely questions that are still standing. Archaic, his Samuel is pretty good, though, so that's at least one thing we can rely on from Hammers. They need to pick up a game here if they want to get back into the series.
I'm really excited to actually see Sibs on this Kestrel as well. I mean, we're seeing a lot of Kestrel in the lane, but in the jungle, it's kind of devastating, especially if Archaic is planning on trying to start the Elder Treant, or at least trying to bait Rogue out for it.
Not again.
Like he was dipping in and out of the jungle, of the brush there.
We've seen so many games where teams go in when they can't really afford to make the Elder Treant play. But this time, Rogue actually does have the space. Archaic is playing very safely. To be honest, with the way that the captains work in this matchup, it kind of is hard to know who would win in a 2 versus 2 on the Treant. Evol on Finn is generally not going to be that great in 2 versus 2s, but in a 2 versus 2 where you're actually fighting over something, it's much easier to land a Quibble, for example, right? Because they have to be within range of the Treant. So that could make Finn okay. I mean, the base damage on that ability is very high. Fortress obviously does respectable damage. I can see he's actually going for a kill in the lane here, though.
Oh, Emo takes a whole world there, but so does Playboy Afro as Sibs comes through. Hammy jump jetsing forward, tries to find the last finishing blow, but couldn't quite connect it. And now Sibs pushing forward on this brush. Glimmer shots go a little bit wry, but Hammer's still looking to maybe fight once again here. They've got a lot of poke potential with this Idris and this Samuel, and Playboy Afro is healing up quite nicely.
Yeah, that was a nice attempt from both sides, actually. No one actually able to get the kill, though. So things not going quite as crazy, quite as quickly as they did last game. I think that's somewhat to be expected, although Fortress is a very aggressive pick. The Idris is not quite as aggressive, neither is the Samuel in a lot of situations. On the other side, of course, you're not expecting Finn and Baron to want to be that aggressive early on. The Baron mostly just going to be sitting there babysat by the Finn, if anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this game go a little bit later. If it does, I do think that Hammers really does have the tools to deal with what Rogue is offering. Idris is very, very good into a Baron if you play it correctly. The fact that you can chase very easily by using your ultimate to follow the Baron through the ultimate, through the jump jet, sorry, is really, really big. And on top of that, Playboy is easily able to tag team with you and be your dive buddy. But at the same time, Sibs, you know, with the Crystal build, you know, fills a bit of a different role than Weapon. And one thing that it can do in the later stages of the game is sit with Baron, provide stuns.
Well, they found Sibs They did just stop him from recalling there. Hammy, though, jump jetting forward very aggressively. Takes a lot of damage for it as well. Hammer's still unrelenting on the aggression. They haven't taken their paw off the gas pedal just yet. Now Rogue, all they can do now is just clear waves, wait for Hammy to scale, but Sibs trying to make these early game proactive plays. Active camo in the lane time and time again. This is their catalyst in order to make the early game just so much easier for them. Just make sure Hammy has a little bit of an easier time. Jungle has intensified though, and the item shop will open. Just leads Hammers actually to take away a little bit of Sib's jungle here. He will only go over there to find one extra minion, and that will leave Rogue just a little bit out of pocket.
Yeah, I like leaving this minion too. Leaving a minion in the double camps is a bit hit or miss as a strategy. I think people don't really think about it too much, but there's a reason why you would want to leave one and why you wouldn't. I think Hammers there made the right decision by not taking both, because they're not planning on being back and controlling the jungle to the extent where they know they'll find that camp on its next spawn. So they're doing they're doing more damage to their opponents by denying a second spawn that they would have gotten a full spawn of, if that makes sense. But Hammers, they're just playing pretty smart, playing pretty safe right now, not overextending, not biting off more than they can chew. When you're against the Kestrel, the Crystal Kestrel, you never know for sure if you're okay in the early game, unless you're just flaring like someone who's kind of scared of the dark, right? So Hammers, I like this. Yeah, they're really not taking too many risks, and I think in their position that makes sense.
Yeah, and Hammers have got so much poke potential as well, and you can see it already landing down on that turret. Hammy just trying to wave clear, has got that tension bow to his name, and now starting all over is looking on the side. That Chakram hurting a fair bit, but Evo's going to be there with the polite company to provide a lot of fortified HP. Nice quibble on starting all over, actually. And now Playboy Afro, Archaic, and starting all over. They are kind of discombobulated right now. It's my favourite word to use, by the way, discombobulated. Means confused. I don't know if I made it up, but
you did not
go with it.
Well, it doesn't just mean confused. Like if you had
all about the place,
yeah,
all over the show,
precisely. Not as it is meant to be.
I have a habit of coming up with words and then thinking they're real. You can ask any of my friends about that. Archaic actually taking a lot of damage there. Fountain coming through, actually healing up the rest of Hammers. They're going to jump on Hammy here. Hammy going fairly low, goes underneath the turret. Didn't expect that damage. Chakram is actually going to finish off the kill. Hollywood Hammers find the first blood yet again against Rogue, and now Evo just slunking his way underneath that turret, and Sib's actually rotating now.
All right, so very nice play there by Hammers. It started. Oh, hang on.
Hang on a second. Archaic taking a lot of damage. Afro coming underneath the turret as well. One shot, one kill. Oh, ever so close, but they do step out the way in time. Very close to taking out Evol as well.
That was a really nice play overall by Hammers. They started it off and burned a lot of things like the energy on Sibs that they needed to get rid of before they could commit to anything, and then did a really interesting, round the rosy rotation around that gold mine in order to get back into lane and surprise Hammy again, which ended up working out really nicely for them. They got some damage on the turret too, so quite strong stuff there. Those are the kinds of plays I like Hammers doing in the early game. It wasn't over-committing. It wasn't trying to push the situation to a point where it wasn't going to work out. But if it did, it would be great. It was like making a smart, well-calculated play, and I think that's what they want to be doing right now. Taking a look at the items across the board, let's do that for a second. You see Sibs has now picked up a Shatter Glass. He's doing a lot of damage. Hammy also has a Tension Bow. Oh,
Hammy's in a lot of trouble, though. Starting alone just jumps on him. That just came out of nowhere again. Hammy just getting jumped on time and time again, just being so far forward. Quiblon starting all over, actually gets taken out by Sibs. Sibs now running away. Playboy Afro takes a lot of damage from that turret. Oblivion is going to get blocked there by Evol. Okay, couldn't quite find the finishing blow on Sibs either. Same with Playboy Afro, just didn't end up going down. They trade 1 for 1 now, but Sibs, again, loses out on some jungle.
That was a pretty interesting play there by Hammers. They stayed way too long. They weren't even finding the damage on the turret that they needed to. I mean, it's lost maybe a fifth more health from its total than it had previously. And starting all over especially was miles and miles out of position there. So not sure what happened. Maybe a bit of a communication breakdown, but Rogue does punish for the overextend a little bit. This does buy Hammy a lot of time to get the ball rolling in the lane here. Get some more farm under his belt. Ooh, and also that one shot's actually pretty big. It makes it a bit harder for starting to stand lane and push right now.
Yeah, that it does. That Shatter Glass has really putting to work. Now, Sibs is in this active camo. Is not at the point where he can just permanently be in active camo. Forced to call comes out, does get blocked. Hammer's still marching forwards though. Sibs, those glimmer shots are really starting to hurt now. They are very glittery, that's why I got confused there. But Rogue still underneath their turret, afraid to make a move here. And you can see the pressure Hammers have already put on. Oh, Ion Cannon is going to strike down 2 members of Hammers. But again, look at that damage down. There will be Attack of the Pack being fought. Falcon coming through as well. That turret's going to get destroyed. Evo's going to be on the front line here with Sibs off to the sideline, just trying to deal with one of those pesky wolves. There we go. He finally killed it. Almost got solo killed by a mini wolf. Oh, starting all over. Whoops, a daisy. Jump just forward from Hammy. Hang on a second. Just jump on straight on top of him. In fact, starting all over, he's just going to take him out cleanly. One shot, 1 kill. Doesn't even find him there. And Rogue just giving up these kills time and time again. Hammy overstaying once too many times. These are the mistakes that you want to avoid.
Yeah, you're seeing a bit of a case study in Idris versus Baron right now. The ultimate's just so good. Baron really wants to be able to jump and then instantly double attack you. He kind of messed that flow up, bought time for his team to get in position, punish Baron for using jump jets the way that he did. Otherwise, if it was any other hero, they either dodge the shots and run away, or they just die. So Idris is doing a lot of work there. I think that Hammers is finding lots of windows, and that's great. But at the same time, the question remains, are they finding enough windows? Because Hammy is getting very, very strong. He's now got a Star Blade on top of the Tension Bow, working towards a crit item. We'll see which one he goes for. I feel like in this game, it would not surprise me if he went for a Tyrant's Monocle, but we've seen him go for Tornado Trigger in the past. Sibs, he's actually picked up components for his second item. And again, lots of different ways he could go, but a Frostburn would be really good for just keeping people off of Hammy. We'll see. I think the next item spike for Rogue is when they start to take the lead a little bit.
Oof. Beautiful forced accord there from Evo, but again, it does get blocked. Once more, Sibs, yeah, he is playing more protect the Hammy right now than he is that one-shot assassin that Kestrel can be, using that crystal build. And yeah, Evo, you're spamming your ultimate. We know it's on cooldown, buddy. Unfortunately, that didn't end up landing, and now it is all Hammer's game to play once more. Starting all over's even got a Tension Bow with a Poison Shiv, Sorrow Blade. So they can all fine and dandy for him right now. Hammy just have to play so far backwards. And even Sibs, in fact. Quibble does land onto Playboy Afro. That's a lot of damage from the rockets. 1 shot, 1 kill. Does end up missing there. Archaic taking a couple of turret hits. Iron Cannon comes down. Does end up missing all of Hammers. And now Evo wants a bit more. Quibble onto 1. Actually just takes him cleanly off the fold. Evo finds a return kill. Now, what can they do with this now? Starting all over there. Polite Company used for the 4 or 5 HP. Sibs gets jumped on by Playboy Afro, but Hammy's here with the damage. Now starting all over in a lot of trouble. Refusing to go down without a fight, though. Does end up dashing away. Blink being very effective at the moment. And now Rogue, 3 on 3, but losing that first tier turret was so important for them.
So last game, I think it was last game, maybe it was the first series, we were talking about the fact that one of the teams couldn't really effectively leverage the gold miner, and so they shouldn't have been going for it. In a similar way in this game, it's very difficult for Hammers, although it's very easy for them to push the way, it's very difficult for them to do anything with that. It's very difficult for them to push a turret, because if they try and engage under a turret, they're going to get kited around the turret for a start, and secondly, it really lines them up for glimmer shots. It's very obvious what direction people are coming from. So I feel as though Hammers gave up some of the inherent advantages they have right now in this game by trying to be so aggressive onto the turret rather than going for gold mine or sentry or jungle. Because those are if you go for those, this is a team that can very snappily make the decision to just jump in and engage. And without the turret, there is a 4th player and something to use as an anchor point for Rogue. It's much more difficult for them to fight.
Well, Hammers don't look like we want to fight right now. They are going to start that gold miner. Evo looking for the cheeky steal. Maybe goes for the forced accord. It's actually going to get dragged over. There we go. Sibs, this is what he was looking for. Steals it away. First attack of the pack's going to get popped, and Hammy comes over the wall. But already, Playboy Afro is going to bite the dust, and starting all over, and Archaic are wondering just what happened.
This is getting really, really dicey for Hammers. I think based on the current state of the game, they are massively behind and could lose if they don't find kind of a golden ticket play to keep them in the mid game. Because if this hits the proper late game, it's going to be all on starting all over, and I don't think he has shown us, at least in this game, enough to make me have faith necessarily that he can just pull through later on. That remains to be seen, though. You can always step up later into this one. Starting over does have 3 big items right now. In fact, 4. He's picked up the metal jacket too, so he's been farming very well. It's about finding the right position, the right windows in these fights. And it's much more difficult in this composition paired up with the Samuel than it would be if that was something which could be aggressive with the Fortress and the Madrid.
Well, that's exactly what Rogue are doing right now. Being aggressive, making the plays happen. Now with Hammy coming online, he's got Tornado Trigger, he's got Monocle, he's got a little bit of armor under his belt as well. He's able to make these aggressive plays. Even the Tension Bow's doing a fair bit of damage, even at this stage in the game. Now, Hollywood Hammers, they are just going to run down this lane. One shot, one kill does strike Afro. Force Accord's going to get blocked, but actually just went a little bit wide regardless. So blowing that Crucible for not too much gain. Again, this is going to be hard for Sibs here. Setting up these active camo traps. What a time to get a coffin fit, as Hollywood Hammers do end up backing off.
Yeah, at this point, Sibs needs some energy for this fight to keep going. This is a rough time to back with Kraken spawning, though. I doubt Hammers goes... Yeah, they're not... Kicks 2 left. Never mind. So this is fine. That was really just a successful defense from Rogue, and now they have the opportunity to go back, buy some more stuff, get some energy. Sibs, honestly, I think when he went back, there should have just picked up an energy battery. That's the biggest thing gating him from being effective right now. And his main job is as a deterrent. It's to soften people up when they think about fighting, so that Hammy can go in and commit to a fight and kill them. As a result, you need energy to keep that rolling. It does have a clockwork on top of those 2 Shatter Glasses, doing a lot of damage right now.
Full one-shot build, that's what that is. Dibs looking to blow someone up and blow someone up fast. Hollywood Hammers, though, they still have a lot of control over their side and the mid side of the jungle. Now Rogue maybe looking for a little entranceway here. Like you said, it's very dangerous at this current time to back when that Kraken is available. Dibs now hanging around just on the border of those flares. Once again, Playboy Afro just making sure that he tries to at least find out where Sibs is hiding. And now rotating back to lane in order to get the shove in. Now it is again all on Rogue to actually make the play here. There is 1 turret down for each team, but it doesn't seem like it because Hammers are just forcing their way into Rogue's jungle.
Look at this positioning from Sibs. I like that, actually. It's definitely not a spot that you flare very often. But Sibs, if you keep stealthing, it does burn your energy over time.
That it does. Oh, Hammy comes over the wall. Hello, Hammy. How's it going? Sibs is going to be here. Trient is going to be almost pretty big, almost roots them up. Oblivion's going to come through. It's going to get blocked. Attack of the Pack is going to find Evo. That fortified HE is going to keep him alive. One shot, one kill. Almost strikes down, starting all over. Ion Cannon. Nope, isn't going to hit anybody. Starting all over, actually using the boots there to get away. And now Rogue. They have 1 unhealthy member in Evo, but he is the tank. He is the Finn. That captain isn't going to go down easy. There's the flares, there's the traps. Sibs going to get spotted out if he's not careful, but still wanting to advance. Nice actually hook. Straight on top of the Wolf. He ends up going down, but they trade 1 for 1, 2 for 1. In fact, Hammy, the last member alive, does jump jets away. Can't quite find the kill on starting all over, and that's actually going to be an ace now for Hollywood Hammers.
So that was a nice hook, but there was one big mistake that ended up going across from Rogue. They were setting it up so they hooked him into the trap and got the stun. That worked. But Sibs needed to move back before they actually committed to the play, because it ended up where it's very easy for starting all over to blink into range and just kill Sibs because he had been standing on top of Evol. That being said, maybe it was just a wrong play in the end. It felt good at the time, but it did not pan out very well. You saw there Rogue getting punished very hard, Kraken going the way of Hammers. This is a situation where they can actually start to push with the Samuel and really force Rogue to have some kind of a response.
Well, Rogue need to respond right now, AJ. They're on the ropes. Not really. Not the metaphorical ropes. They haven't quite been met, I don't think. Rogue are still firmly in this game. They've still got Hammy for late game. Forced to Cord again goes a little bit wide. Hollywood Hammers being able to have this Kraken on the field does allude to another turret. Ion Cannon going to do a little bit of damage. And speaking of a little bit of damage, Archaic almost gets taken out. 1 shot, 1 kill. just barely scraping the bottom of his jacket there. That Kraken will end up falling, but it does take a turret with it. Still fairly worth. The base has been cracked now for Rogue, and again, it's all on them. Make the plays here.
Yeah, that was really rough. If Archaic had not been chunked so hard, I think probably the Hammers could have continued pushing, been a bit more aggressive. Rogue, though, did not really lose too much. I don't think they're that concerned. They certainly have shown that in most of these fights, they're actually in a good spot, so long as they don't overdo it, which they certainly did in the last one. Only losing one turret when you make a mistake like that this late into the game is honestly about as good as it gets. You know, if you lose more, that's the expected result 19 minutes in. So Rogue, let's see if they can find their footing again. Finding a good flank here might work out. They've got so much damage, and this positioning from their opponents does mean a kill probably.
We'll see if it does actually result in a kill, because sometimes that doesn't happen, AJ. You can't always get what you want. Breaking point now finished for starting all over. Fully decked out, kitted, ready to go. Now Sibs, he's got that double shatter glass, he's got the clockwork, even got the one-shot, one kills to find Playboy, but Rogue still need to find these fights. It just seems like they're turning the fights around rather than actually finding the engagement and then straight up winning against Hollywood Hammers. I mean, you could say the Hammers, they have got an engaged comp to go in with Playboy Afro, but still, Sibs and Hammy, they've got so much damage under their belt, but half the time they're just too many people are on top of them for them to actually do anything meaningful and have to disengage more often than not.
I really like that Hammers isn't getting too greedy off the back of that one successful fight, though. They know that some of that was a mistake by Rogue, and as such, they know that they're not so strong that they can just say, all right, let's go, let's fight. That being said, you know, they do need to make something happen lest Hammy can scale, lest Sibs pick up perhaps a broken myth. That's some good damage.
That is some good damage. That is attack at the back being popped as well. The Iron Cannon is going to hit, and it is going to hit two members of Hammers. Not doing all too much, but still, every little bit of damage counts. One shot, one kill. Just go straight through the lane. Actually hits the Kraken for what it matters at this moment. And now Playboy Afro, as soon as he got struck by that damage, attack of the pack was popped, and he actually just disengaged from the entire fight. So now Rogue clearing out some of these scout traps that just litter the map at the moment. There must be a lot of debris on the floor with the amount they've actually put down.
Yep, all right.
Hang on a minute. Attack is going to come in. Attack of the pack's not available, but that's not going to matter. Starting all over on the back line. They're just going to kite back. Hammy already falls, though, starting taking his life. Archaic gets dragged back in, but the Malice and Verdict just finished off the kill. Ace for Hammers. The base is open. They got a long death timers as well. I think this is game number 2 going over to Hammers.
Starting all over, showing the Baron that, you know, Idris is really, really good into that pick. I wasn't 100% sure if he was going to be able to, based on some of his plays in the early game, but he definitely tightened it up moving into the later stages. Hammers taking us further in the series, looking pretty good. You know, this was a closer game, though for sure it could have gone Rogue's way.
Could have gone Rogue's way. There goes one turret, there goes the second. Hollywood Hammers come back with a vengeance against Rogue. All tied up in this series. This is a best of 3, remember. They are 1-1. We'll see what they want to do in the next game. It's looking ever so close now. The next game honestly could go either way in this series as well. I'm going to jump straight back over to the analyst desk now. Those guys can take it away and break that game down even further.
7-1-2. We've had a lot of powerful Idris play coming out across the course of not only the series, but today in general. Starting all over, really stepping up in that one. It was a little bit lackluster last game, but definitely coming into his own. Perhaps just needed a little bit of a warm-up coming in.
Maybe. They were able to deal with the Baron this time around. A much better game from starting over from earlier today. Also a much better Idris than what we saw yesterday from him. Definitely, I mean, that's kind of the Hammers story right now. It's just individual players stepping up in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a great point. I really love to see Hammers play good when they play good because they are a really good team. You see right here, Baron is not the guaranteed win that I think a lot of people might have come to believe watching competitive Vainglory. There is counters, and of course, we've known that Idris is a great counter. I really like to just see how the Fortress has played in this. You know, we haven't seen a lot of Fortress into Baron, but it kind of creates the mass confusion once those wolves come out that really throw a wreck. And plus, when you get near the end of a fight, you can bring them out and go in and actually turn the tide, what otherwise might have been a lost fight here. We do see, of course, Starting All Over is going to be able to pick up a really nice kill there, and this is something we've seen with Starting All Over. He plays on the edge of a knife. Sometimes he falls over the wrong side, but when he falls over on the right side, it looks fantastic. Rogue does try their best here. Nice reflex block. Afro doesn't drop here. Sibs is going to get lit up, and actually survives this. Starting All Over, unfortunately, going to be on the run here.
And that was the story of this game, right? Was the start of the game up to sort of 20 minutes. This really could have gone either way. That was a nice hook coming out from Evil and chaining the CC to finish off that kill. And Rogue, unfortunately, I don't believe managed to win this fight. This ended up going the way of Hammers, even though they got that first kill.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because they focused so much onto the captain that they just didn't respect the damage that was then going to follow up. There was a lot of damage dealt out onto Sibs during that fight. And it sort of just ended up being the case where they ended up getting split repeatedly. Hammers had really good target focus of just picking either Baron or Kestrel and going all in onto that target and not allowing them to have a true 3-on-3 fight, really.
Yeah, and we're starting to see teams like really actually being able to answer the Barons in these compositions, and Fortress was the new creative way of going against that. And that's a conversation we had at the start of the draft last time, was like, what are the other answers to Baron outside of just Idris? And Fortress clearly working out in this scenario. Now we're going to be looking towards Game 3 of this series. We've got one apiece right now. Rogue looking a little bit like they need to kind of just pull themselves together again off the back of that game. There was just a few little things that went wrong for them, and it was able to roll into something greater for the likes of Hammers. Dragonborn, what are you expecting to see here in Game 3?
Well, I do expect to see Baron either banned or first picked, right? I don't expect Hammers to kind of put themselves in a position where Baron's going all the way through the draft and then they're caught on the backside. So I do think it starts there. But Hammers, when they get started, when they get rolling, I mean, Starting All Over is that kind of young, emotional player that, once he gets that victory under his belt, I think he could take a game over. And I do expect to see, I expect them to play their comfort picks, play something they feel good about. But I'm really excited to see him on Idris play well, because this does mean that, it's going to pretty much put the fear into the eyes of Hammy playing Baron again. They're going to be more cautious.
All right, well, we'll see if caution is the name of the game here. Hammers on the A side with Rogue, on the B side coming into this third and final game of this series. And Hammers, looking at this first ban, there's been plenty of ways these first couple of bans have gone across the course of the challenge battles. And a Catherine for the first ban, not something you'd usually expect.
This is interesting. We don't see Catherine banned first. This is going to leave both Baron and Grace up, and Rogue now has to make a decision of which one they're willing to give over, or give both. And this is typically what you might want to do. Now, you do have both healers up. I actually expect Hammers to go for the Lyra first pick if Grace is banned. So you got to be a little bit careful if you're Rogue on banning out that Grace. They probably should be safe and just ban out the Baron.
I would actually almost like to see them ban away the Idris here, because with the Catherine off the board, that's a very strong counter into a Baron and into an Idris as well. So it feels to me like Hammers are looking for one of those two picks. And so if you ban away the Idris, you're now then leaving the Baron open, but you can then take the Grace. Or they take the Grace, and you can take the Lyra. Baron likely gets banned in the second rotation, and it just ends up being a bit of a wash. So they're going to go ahead and take away the Kestrel. Very similar situation where you're taking away a pick that Hammers want to get. They're going to take the Grace. Now as Rogue, you can go ahead and grab yourself Lyra, and Baron is likely to get banned away in this rotation.
Yeah, for sure. So the healer's going to be locked on in here, but both Baron and Grumpjaw making it through those first two bans. Two of the very common bans we've seen. Also Idris on the card still. A lot of different directions this can go, Dragonborn.
Yeah, and this is a little risky because the Hammers may be forced to ban Baron, and then that gives Rogue a nice play right into Idris with the Lyra. So Rogue's actually going to ban the Idris. I'm not sure. They could have easily picked it. Baron's going to be banned here and kind of reset now. Vox coming out here. This is kind of like the last strong carry that we see taken off the board here.
Yeah, for sure. With Kestrel already gone, there's a lot of carries taken off the board. Still things like Glaive Adagio. I think this is the first Adagio we've seen of the entire challenge battles, and you might just be right. A Grumpjaw would fit this composition perfectly.
Yeah, Grumpjaw, Rona, Krull, Glaive, any Black Feather, any of these kind of sustain heavily melee heroes would be really, really strong with this double heal composition. I expect one of them to come through here. I don't know which one they're going to be leaning towards, because you really can run any of those 4 or 5 heroes.
Yeah, a few different directions you can go, but Grumpjaw's definitely the one that we've seen the most when it comes to this double healer style composition. What are you expecting here, Dragonborn? And if we do see the melee, what do you anticipate to counter that?
Well, I mean, you're obviously going to itemize against it. Grumpjaw comes out, so this is going to be likely that weapon Grumpjaw that goes in, and you really need to now get something that can be a really strong frontline, protect you, and also give you some CC. There's no stuns on the side of Rogue, and that's very dangerous. And honestly, when you look at that Catherine ban, might have been what Hammers was planning all along, as you really want that reliable stun. So I think they might be forced here to look at something. A Cruel's coming out, not as reliable of a stun. It's not up all the time, but it will be able to help protect that front line. And of course, from Hell's Heart, very, very powerful tool here for maybe in mid-game fights, releasing that that stuff.
Also, if Grumpjaw is the major damage dealer, just building up the weakness stacks to keep your Fox alive is going to be invaluable during these fights. So looking at the compositions then, Bacon, how do you anticipate this one going? Do you feel like either of these guys has a stronger composition? Like, do you like the Cruel pick as the final pick?
I like the Cruel pick. I think it works out because it's very strong into Adagio, especially. As you mentioned, you can use From Hell's Heart to free someone out of a stuff like immediately, because it does get thrown very, very quickly in the thick, in the heat of the moment. So I like the Cruel pick. I think it can do enough, especially with the Vox. You're going to have, assuming they both go weapon power, both of them can build into a Poison Shiv and just really try and cancel out that healing with mortal wounds being applied to 2 targets.
All right, how are you feeling about this final game, Dragonborn?
Well, we know Sibs can play Cruel, so I really am excited about this. I think this is going to be a great game for Rogue because, like you said, we can build the double Shiv. All the heal will get countered, and plus then you're getting onto that front line. You're actually taking out the Grumpjaw out of the fight right away. So mid-game to late-game fights really should favor Rogue. The only caveat is if Hammers can, just absolutely outplay them, and as well starting the early game, they really might have a chance to beat Rogue here and take the series.
All right, well, it's time to jump on into the final game of this series. It's the Hollywood Hammers up against Rogue, fighting for seeding and for pride right now. Hammers want to come into the Vainglory 8 strong once more. They're looking so much better than they have this season. Let's find out if they can finish the series strong or whether Rogue can dethrone them.
Thank you very much, guys. And that is the big question at everybody's lips. Can Rogue dethrone the Hammers? They've looked very dominant thus far, but Rogue have come up fighting and they're raring to go. Triple healers on the board here, AJ. What do we think?
Man, I think there's a lot of power in this Hammers composition. We know how scary Weapon Grumpjaw can be, and it's backed up, of course, by a lot of healing this time. Also, Grace, a great addition to these double healing comps that we hadn't had prior to her release, obviously. You can see Hammers already. Look at how much pressure they're able to exert on the jungle. They've hardly taken any damage yet.
No damage at all. Did Afro steal it? Oh, starting all over stole it. Okay, all right. We're getting ready. We're diving into the game. Sibs, a little bit unhappy about that one on the Cruel once more. We'll see if he can make that work once again. It works so well for them in the first game. Just the second one, not so, well, didn't play the second one, but lost the second game, so there we go. Hammers now, they are running this Adagio in the lane, and it's something what we've seen crop up every now and then, kind of dipped in popularity a little bit. Double heal on the side of Hammers, though. They're going to be sustained through these fights. Something special.
Yeah, they absolutely will, and Archaic, he's definitely got the ability to kill someone like Sibs before he even gets stacks up, which is kind of interesting. I think that Hammers has a composition that deals nicely with what Rogue is bringing to the table. What really is going to be the deal breaker here, for Rogue, is if they can actually get a good Bright Bulwark down, back out of the fight, create some space after Archaic has burned something. Oh, first blood.
Oh, hang on a second. Well, a kill just went over. Again, every time, man, it comes out of nowhere and Archaic picks up first blood.
Did Evo get both of
those? Hammer's just on the board.
No, Evo got one of those. Okay.
He got
pretty solid stuff, yeah. Wow, nice play though. Hammers, this is the kind of pressure I was talking about. Certainly something they can do with the Grace. I mean, Grace can do this by herself. If you add a Grumpjaw to that, it becomes a lot easier, obviously. Starting all over, he's doing a respectable job up in the lane as well. Adagio lane, not something we see a ton nowadays, but still very good, to be honest.
Yeah, extremely good at sustaining himself through the laning phase, and he is able to shove Hammy fairly well in as well as soon as he gets his alternating current online. Sib's looking for that classic Kroll play. Is going to find Starting. Hammy's going to push forward as well, but Dayboy Afro is going to get a two-man knock-up. Here comes Archaic. Sibs is going to bite the dust, and Hammy is going to have to take that Sigil and piece on out of there. Starting all over, picks up that kill.
Yeah, that was really, really nice as a play from Hammers. The thing you got to realize is, okay, Kroll normally is great at those kinds of dives, but a Holy Nova totally shuts it down, and Playboy is easily able to make his way up there. Look at this again.
Oh my goodness. They just keep finding kill after kill. Playboy Afro actually secures it this time. I mean, he has just been on point, but the roaming duo that is Archaic and Afro right now, just working an absolute treat. Sibs forced to actually use the boots there as well. That's a big cooldown for a Kroll this early on.
Yeah, it's really rough because he needs it in order to be effective in making plays happen if he wants to go the aggressive build, and I think he did at the very least. You know, he has the 6 sins and a weapon blade. Now, he might be reevaluating. It's not too late for Sibs to change path and maybe try and pick up some early defensive items, maybe get some on-hit going, something like that. We'll have to see if he really commits to it, because his tension bow is going to be delayed right now, and that is not a position you want to be in, ideally, as the Kroll player. I like this comp so much from Hammers, though. I wonder if they've had it up their sleeves for a while now.
I feel like they may have done, just because Playboy Afro and Archaic seemed in tune with each other. He has got his tension bow online as well. Look at just the CS differential. The numbers speak volumes, AJ. 7 to 22. I'm not going to do numbers. We've already decided that I'm pretty bad at math at this time in the evening. Hammers, now rotating down, will secure themselves an alternating current as well. Starting all over, having that first kill, or the second kill even, has got himself a nice chunk of change. Now, what is he going to do with it? That's the question. Or what is Archaic going to do with the advantage that he's got? Sibs just forced back. Maybe they make a look up to the lane for a play here. Archaic more than ready, it seems, to jump on anybody who steps out of line.
Starting all over has been chunked out a decent amount here, though. Hammers does need to be careful. The burst damage on the Starting could be enough until Playboy actually hits level 6, has access to Divine Intervention. Prior to that, the only healer actually on the double heal count is the Adagio.
Hammy takes a whole brunt of damage, but Evo's going to be there to heal him up nice and tightly. Now, Hollywood Hammers, they still have the advantage in their lane. They still have this pressure. Okay, dashing forward. There's a lot of damage done to Hammy. That Sigil is going to heal him up. Actually, so okay, going a little bit too far in there. They actually had to pop the fountain to pick him up some HP, but Sibs is going to actually bite the dust instead. Goes back to base actually to pick up a tension bow. That's what it will tell his teammates. Hollywood Hammers find their 4th kill of the game and already pressuring this tier 1 turret. I mean, a lot of trouble. Okay, it's going to dash forward. A lot of damage from that tension bow proc, but again, just takes too many turret hits. Almost goes down. Starting all over, healing him up though to secure himself his own life. And now rotating it downwards now. Wasn't able to get much damage down to that turret, but still securing a kill and a couple of camps.
Yeah, really nice stuff there. Sib's going for this tension bow. That's an interesting pickup. He's not super delayed in it, but I'm not sure it really is the item that's going to do the most work for him this game. Even just rushing for the poison chip, I think, would have probably had more impact. The reason you would go for the tension bow is if you're planning on killing Starting all over quickly. That's really the target that it is most effective against. But as we've seen up until this point, they've only been able to really get grazes of damage onto Starting. He's never been in enough of a position to be jumped on that Rogue has been able to capitalize fully on that one. And what you got to realize as well is if you're trying to burst Starting, this is a double threat comp, at least for the time being. Archaic's just going to punish you for that.
Yes, he will, and he's level 6. He has got that stuffed as well. He goes in with that, actually. It's going to get blocked perfectly by Rogue. Has to use that hangry to dash on out of there, create a little space between him and Sibs. Sibs hasn't got that From Hell's Heart available to him just yet. Okay, almost gets rooted up. Again, it's always quite embarrassing when that happens, but it does. Happens to the best of us, including Archaic. Now, full control Hammers yet again of the map, it seems. And Rogue just kind of letting it happen at this point. They know they're at such a disadvantage. 3,000 gold at 7 minutes.
All right, how's Hammers going to transition this into some objectives, though? That's what I want to see at this point. So far, yes, they've gotten some nice kills. They've gotten some good farm. I want to see some turrets and gold mine, though. Those are the kinds of things you need to actually get to close out games. They certainly can with the damage they have.
Damage is a small word, I think, AJ. I think total obliteration, annihilation from Archaic is what's soon to follow when he jumps in. He's got a little bit of crit on his side now, you see.
You mentioned this late at night you don't like to do math. It certainly isn't affecting, it isn't making you discombobulated enough to ruin your erudite vernacular, Daz.
I knew that word would come back to me. I knew it would. God damn. But, from Hell's Heart does hit Archaic. Wait for it as well. Silence 3 members of Hammers. They're still under turret, taking turret hits. Archaic seems to love and eating them, and that is. Evol almost falls down. There comes the heal from Playboy Afro to keep him alive. Hungry over the wall to steal away one of those camps. Archaic loves taking those turret shots. They're going to be able to back off, though. Rogue, they still have that From Hell's Heart available in about 40 seconds, so they're just going to have to play around that cooldown, because right now, Archaic looking to make another pick.
Whoa!
Well, speaking of picks, hang on a second. Burst of Judgment actually onto 2 members of Rogue. Still going down, and Sibs in the front line just gets taken out by Archaic. He follows the passage right through. No. Hammy's going to get gobbled up, and Hollywood Hammers, they're looking in a bad spot. Hammy just rejoined at the hip at the moment. He's going to have to get some surgery done. He's just in pieces. That turret is going to fall. Even Evol is going to have to escape that one. Archaic, he's with 3 kills. Starting Alovers with 2. And Hollywood Hammers with 6 on the board and 4k in the bank. Make that 5. They're looking all too good to just actually sum up this mid-game nice and well.
I got to wonder if Rogue forgets there that you get fortified health when you channel your Burst of Judgment. As the Adagio starting all over was gifted those kills. Christmas came early for him there. It really was not a situation that should have been engaged by Evol. I understand when you're pressured, when it's the last game of the series, and it really matters. You want to be trying to get some kind of an edge early so you feel good going into the mid-game. But at this point, you got to bail on that plan. I mean, you're already too far behind. As Rogue, you cannot win straight-up fights right now against Hammers unless they massively misplay. It's time to just, cut your losses. Hedge your bets on the late game.
Hedge your bets on the late. That's what Archaic doesn't want to get to. Dashes straight in again. He finds Sibs. Look at that damage starting all over, just pounding him in the back line as well. But Archaic's going to secure the kill. Didn't even have to use his stuffed. Playboy, we've got the emotes there for a reason. That's exactly where you need to use them.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. There we go. That's what they were added for, AJ. Slight bit of BM. Now Hammers encroaching now onto that tier 2 turret. That gold mine is looking all too full as well, but they just don't want to stop fighting. Goes in for the stuff. He actually just swallows Evol hold. Hangry over the wall. Does end up missing. There comes the burst. Straight into it. Is going to get blocked. Actually, Evol following that through with the passageway. Hang on a minute. Hammy comes up big. And here comes Sips as well. From Hell's Heart secures a kill. And that's 2 down now for Hammers.
So Archaic just face planted into the wall when he was trying to get away with the goods stowed in his stomach there. Does not pan out. I mentioned earlier, hedge your bets on the late game. You can't win unless Hammers makes a mistake early on here. That was a huge mistake. I mean, that was really, really massive. They did not only lose both of their carries, but they also lost a turret. Look at the gold now, 2,000 between it. I mean, Rogue, they're totally back in this off of that one misplay. Archaic, he needed to actually use the dash to get away, or it was just not. I mean, man, Rogue's got to be feeling good. I guess it is, as I said, Christmas came early for starting. It's the season of giving. Got to give back when you get a gift like that fight earlier on.
Well, here we go. What can Rogue really do now with that gold miner fresh on the minds of Hollywood Hammers? Need to be able to secure it. I'm surprised they haven't actually just gone for it sooner, in all honesty. It's 11 minutes in the game. Gonna absolutely liquidate as it does end up falling. In fact, there we go. That was I don't know if that happened on your screen as well, AJ, but it was on 1 HP for about 5 seconds, but it ends up going down.
Yeah, Rogue actually took that, I believe, right? Evol stole it away, so really nice stuff there. I think Hammers is still in the lead, so we got to be careful about sort of how much we think the impact of that last fight might have. But the problem is, whilst they're in the lead now, they're not so far in the lead that they can go in and kill someone super quickly, super fast. There's new items now, like the Atlas on Evol, like the Atlas on Sibs, the Aegis on Hammy. That's going to buy enough time that someone like Sibs can get strong over the course of a fight. So I'd like to see actually stuff used on him. All the time he's not...
Evo's going to make an engagement. Hang on here, AJ. That's going to be a massive wait for it as well. Here comes the burst of judgment. It's going to get blocked, but the damage is still there. Hammy just gets deleted. And now Sibs on the front line. Archaeal just using those auto attacks, just chunking him down. But the heals come out from Evo. Might just be a little bit too much. Playboy Afro, there's a 2v1. He survived for oh so long, but it wasn't enough. And now Evo, the last alive for Rogue, is going to get chased out. Now, can Archaic do anything here? Cooldowns apparently a little bit too long for him to make anything more of that, but still trading 2 for 1. It's a little bit more gold in Archaic's pocket.
That was really rough. I thought for a moment there Sibs was going to be able to do it, but the healing was a little bit too much out of Playboy Afro towards the end there, keeping Archaic topped off. Plus Archaic at this point has some armor too, so Sibs is struggling to do as much damage as he might like. Sibs needs a Poison Shiv. That is going to be a critical item for him, because in a lot of these fights, I would be expecting Hammy and starting to trade, right? They're both the squishiest members. There's a lot of damage across both sides this game. They're likely going to trade every other fight, right? So you know you're going to be in the 2 versus 2. What do you need in the 2 versus 2? That should be informing the decisions you make with your build path. Sibs needs a Poison Shiv. It's critical. I love the Atlas, though, from him and Evol. They can actually stagger it and really make Archaic's life very difficult. Has additional utility against starting as well in the rest of the fight. But yeah, I think Hammers, they're in a position to do well in 2 versus 2 until Sibs does pick that item up.
Will he be able to get to that stage of the game, though, AJ? That's the question. Because Hammers
think
right
so.
now, they want to end it. And Sibs is going to get found out. Oh, hang on a second. Nice bright bulwark, but Sibs is taking a fair bit of damage. You think so, AJ? Well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm willing to hedge my bets. Hammers are just going to be able to dive this turret and at least take a couple of kills. Although the healing was there for Evol. We did see that last time.
Perhaps
Hammers just refusing now.
counterintuitively, I think that Hammers needs to kill Sibs quickly, like first in these fights, if they actually want to end the game quickly. Because right now Sibs is not that tanky, doesn't have that much durability or sustainability, but those things will change later. And as it currently stands, if they don't kill Hammy but they commit to him and Sibs is still alive, the weakness stacks will just obliterate Hammers. So taking Sibs out of the fight in some capacity, whether that be killing him or eating him, is really, really critical, as I mentioned earlier on. Sibs does have a Poison Shiv now, so it's already hit that point, Jaws. A minute later.
Oh, fine, all right. I was hoping he'd go for something else just to spite you, but he was like, no, I need more damage. I'm going to get a Sora Blade, but he does. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense him getting that Poison Shiv. Just negate some of that damage. I think Poison Shiv is the name of the game for this one. Although Archaic hasn't got one, just wants to go for more of that burst potential. Has picked up that monocle, looking for a second one as well. But, Rogue, these are the mistakes that they need to avoid, just walking into brushes like this. They've got to be very, very careful, because right now they're just playing around this vision like they should be. With this Kraken on the board now, we are 15 minutes into the game, and Hammers, they've not really extended this gold lead either. It's still 3,000 on the board for them. It's not really gone up, it's not really gone down. Playboy Afro, everybody's just kind of walking past him. Oh, I think he's DC'd, actually.
Yeah. I like that Rogue being the nice guys about it, though. This is an important matchup,
that's kind of
obviously.
nice. I was like, hang on a second, is he being that sneaky? But no, he is not. He is. Oh, there you go. He's back again.
No, this is a situation where you pretend you've DC'd. You're like, oh no, I'm flanked. What do I do?
Oh no!
Stop moving. Oh,
Holy
nice.
Nova.
Yeah. Holy Nova. That'd be so rude.
Yeah, right. Triple knock up, and then Arcade just comes in and just rampages through all of them. Speaking about being on a rampage, 5-1 on Archaic's scoreboard right now. Looking all too scary. He's got Atlas Pauldrons as well, so when he does end up actually getting on top of Sibs and Hammy, that attack speed is going to get reduced, reducing that DPS of their entire team. Be quite important for him to actually hit that. In fact, there is 2 Atlas Pauldrons on the side of Hammers right now.
Yeah, I like this a lot. It's going to be very, very good against Sibs and Hammy. I do think that Playboy was right to go for the Echo first, though. Echo with Grace is just ridiculous. It's such a strong synergy. Does a lot of work. Playboy does have the flank.
Passageway, and there's the bright bulwark. There comes the first judgment. That's massive damage. Arcade going very low. Here comes the heal, though. 600 actually landing on starting all over instead. Echo, heal, another 600. Hammy gets eaten. What can they do now? Hungry towards the Kraken. They're all chasing down starting all over, though. He does end up falling. Archaic falls as well. Double kill for Sibs, or Hammy, I should say. And now it's Playboy Afro. He's going to have to stay alive in order to keep them from getting that ace buff. But Evil and Hammy are just going to chase him down. Benediction on the Crystal Sentry. He ends up falling. Ace for Rogue, and that Kraken's going to get taken as well.
Wow, that was a huge punt from Hammers. Playboy Afro, I think, maybe mistapped. He started to move up towards the lane when they realized that they had the flank. As a result, really easy pickups for Rogue. The heals had to be burned very quickly in the fight, but there was mortal wounds, I believe, on at least one of the targets that got Divine Intervention. Didn't hit for full. Also, Archaic spat out Hammy at Starting All Over when Starting All Over was trying to retreat. It was really, like, comprehensively a bad fight for Hammers. Rogue are in such a strong position off the back of that. You know, items like that poison chip that we mentioned earlier on now coming through, breaking point for Hammy. These things are starting to give them the edge. They're spending their money a bit better, like I like to say. I don't know if Hammers have the momentum to keep this ball rolling unless they find a great ultimate coming out of Archaic to make this a 2 versus 3.
Absolutely. He needs to just make something stick. Or at least needs to devour somebody. Sibs on the sidelines does have the ultimate available. That Kraken is just chomping down that turret, hitting it time and time again. And Hammy, you're very, very safe at this range. And Starting All Over, you can see him just pressuring that Kraken. It's about half HP now. Rogue, all in their playbook, you could say. This is the play they were writing. It's turning into a bit of a nightmare now for Hammers. They're going to have to deal with that Kraken. It isn't going to fall now, and that's going to be big for them. At least it only takes 1 turret, but a sentry going down, another little advantage for Rogue. It's really turning around for them. The goal doesn't speak it, and it hasn't this whole game. But Hammy in these team fights has just been this catalyst for Rogue to actually come back in.
Absolutely. Hammy's been doing his job very effectively. Hammer's now moving up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rogue just start a fight here. I think they can.
I think they can too. Here comes the War Treads from Hell's Heart. It's going to land. It's going to land on Playboy Afro. We see the target selection though. It's going to be Archaic. Here comes the heal though. 800. What? That was ridiculous. And now Archaic is going to eat up Evo. Versus Judgment is going to get completely denied there from the silence from Hammy. He does come back in. A lot of damage on the front line. Playboy Afro using that benediction. He does get the knock up as well onto Hammy. But Hammy caught him back perfectly. And Evo is going to secure the kill on Archaic. Playboy Afro moving forwards just to make sure that Starting All Over can get out alive, but Rogue chasing him down and actually securing this wave now is going to be important for them. And once again, Rogue find the fight, and they end up just taking out Archaic and Playboy, and Starting All Over is just left completely alone.
That fight could have gone the other way. It was very, very close, but ends up going Rogues. This is one thing that is going to happen in these late game stages if Hammy is able to get high breaking point stacks, not be the main focus because Sibs is causing too much of a disruption on the front line. You are going to go down. This all being said, I think the target focus at the beginning of the fight was not the greatest from Rogue. They had a window to kill Archaic before the heals came in. It actually got a decently long from Hell's Heart stun onto Playboy Afro. But they didn't make the decision to firmly commit to Archaic until a little bit later. So that nearly backfired. Still, Rogue was able to come out ahead. This is their composition scaling quite effectively. Sibs, it's surprising to me that he even went down that quickly. Didn't quite matter. Now got some infusions picked up for the side of Rogue. Let's see how they use them. Tyrant's Monocle on Archaic. Could be a nice pickup as well. He's been creating most of his attacks now.
Now, they need to find these fights. And this is the worrying thing for Hammers right now. They managed to make the early game work. Such brilliance from Archaic. But right now, they're just falling so far behind. Even Evo has actually picked up an Echo here. So
what is
we don't actually see
I guess
the,
he might just echo his heal.
Yeah, very true.
Passage probably isn't that great.
That would be hilarious to see the double passage. I mean, he's just blipping around.
Bulwark's okay if you use the first to like make Archaic think that he's fine to then go in for stuff. Oh, let's see.
Well, there's the passageway. War Treads come in as well. From Hell's Heart does land on Playboy Afro again. They're going to chase Starting All Over down once more. He does get healed up. Playboy Afro popping that Echo. He's going to have another heal to his name. Vengeance does come down. Starting All Over now chasing the members of Rogue. Okay, does find the stuff on to Sibs. Can they find the kill though? Hammy still free hitting in the backline. They cannot. Sibs with the too much healing. It's just going to chase Starting All Over out of there. Archaic falls once again, and Rogue, they're going to secure themselves another Kraken.
That was a really impressive fight. Rogue has so much damage at this late stage that even without a bone saw, they're just getting through the high armor count on the side of Hammers. This all being said, Hammers nearly turned it around. There was a moment in the middle of the fight where I thought they possibly could, but the positioning wasn't quite there. Starting All Over had a great verse, but not enough energy to keep the fight going over its entirety. Rogue now have a crack and they want more.
Oh, they want more. They want Starting All Over's life. They want to just take him down and erase him. 3 members bundled on top of him, but the heals are just too much. 2 heals come out for Playboy Afro, and he makes it out to the base almost alive. Rogue almost sacrificed himself. Here comes Archaic. Dashes forward with the ultimate. Just completely misses. That Kraken still is walking down that lane. Lumbering. And Rogue, they are looking their sights to just end the game. Starting all over has got a 35-second death timer right now. So can he come up but time that Kraken is just taken down? Archaic, he's got a lot of damage, but he just needs to focus a target, and Rogue are just going to focus their entire base. First turret falls. Kraken now setting his sights on the second one, and so is Hammy. 14 seconds on starting all over. They just need to take out Hammy. Just kill the guy. He's just doing so much damage. He's actually just going to fall here to Playboy, but that's going to be the Crystal being focused now as well. Starting all over is going to spawn. 2 members down now for Rogue. Passageway is going to get followed through from Evil here. Kraken still knocking on their base doors. Half HP. Rogue just comes back in. Follows to the passageway through. Staying alive still. Ace 4 hammers. Can they take out the Kraken in time? I think they're going to just be able to do it, AJ. One more knock. Versus Judgment comes out, secures the Kraken kill, and they survive with the skin of their teeth.
Oh, so close. Hammy used his ultimate on the turret there. I think that was the deal breaker. He probably could have stayed alive at least one basic attack more had he just saved wait for it to silence it and buy time. That was really close, though. Don't necessarily blame him. You just want to do damage, but it didn't really do much to the turret. Hammers, how much can he get off the counter push here? Sips is the only one alive. Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe 2 turrets. They might just, with how much damage Grumto has, it's possible. Kind of bold, though. Yeah, they're going to back away. Okay, I think that's fine. Sentry should be an easy pickup.
Well, it's a full consolation prize for their entire base, AJ. Let's not beat around the bush here. Still Hammers, they're on a knife's edge right now. They to get back in this game, and they need to be able to secure 3 more turrets to actually end the series. Or Rogue, they're going to find themselves just moving up towards that VG8 spot. Now Rogue just making a smart call, you could say, just rushing down the base, but there will be 3 recalls coming through for Hammers, so Rogue are going to recognize that and actually rotate down now to the jungle. In fact, Evo's trying to be very sneaky here.
This could go
the teams
wrong.
know. Yeah, there we go. They're flared out.
Man,
that would have been sneaky.
They need to not do this play, though. It's way too risky. Just clear the jungle, get the sentry. I think softening up the wave, letting it crash into the base, knowing the Kraken will be spawning soon. These are all things that Rogue can do that are safe, and that makes sense. What they're doing right now is way too risky. I don't like it, Jaws.
It's risky, AJ, but it's fun. I can hear the tension in your voice, but it is hilarious. If Rogue managed to pull this off, which they won't, because Hammers are... But, well, both the teams are just spamming recalls at this point. They know that they are there. That Kraken is available, though. We are 25 minutes into the game. This next...
Actually, what I will say
might end
is
it.
I like that they're not pushing the wave, now that I think about it. Because
the wave
Hammers
builds up.
can't push out of the base in order to go for the wave. Oh, I'm surprised they're pushing it now. I thought they were just going to leave it there to slow push, make it so Hammers has to move out of their base if they want to clear the wave, then go back and take Kraken real quick. That would have almost, I think, been a better call there. But still, you know, this is an opportunity for Rogue to start leveraging their pressure on the map again. Hammers finally comes out of their cave, though.
Out of their cave, out of their base. Is this the Rogue? Is this the fight that Rogue wants? Here comes the fight bulwark. That's going to be a knock up onto Evo here. Passage through. Here they go. They're going to just end the game. They bait and switch. Hammers come through pretty big, but Archaic's going to E1. Versus Judgment's going to come down and ripple through the Rogue members. That's a lot of damage. Sibs still trying to kite. Can they get it? Yes, they can. Rogue end up taking the base, take the series, and they'll find themselves with a VG8 spot, AJ. That was the ending everybody wanted to see.
Very impressive stuff, Rogue. Very impressive series, though, overall. It was back and forth. It was the first 3-game series I've seen, at least on stream, in North America, so really strong stuff there. Hammers, they tried their best, but that comp just runs out of gas compared to what Rogue had in the late game.
Tried their best, but they did not succeed, and their stars will be twinkling and fading out as Rogue come up with the victory. But to break that game down even further, well, that series as a whole, we have Munch and everybody else over on the desk.
And there we have it. Rogue are going to take the first seed, moving on forward into the Vainglory 8. They've done it in the end with a 2-1 victory over the Hollywood Hammers. A comical way to end the game, it has to be said. I have to agree with Jaws on that one, where they're dancing on either side of the wall. But smartly played to kind of bait the enemy out so you can do the old switcheroo and get on in there. But it wasn't necessarily a simple win, but once it got to the late game, it definitely favored Rogue.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a situation where Rogue they had a stronger composition down the stretch. I actually think that last in that dance over the wall, if they had gone for it while the Hammers were on the other side, it's almost a better play because then you have a chance of 1 or 2 members of Hammers getting sucked back over the wall through the portal,
yeah.
and then you have a free crystal to go onto. But either way, when it's 3 members going onto that crystal, there's not really a whole lot that you can do to stop it. But this Krull pick is really starting to shine. Is one of the things I really want to focus on. This double weapon power Krull with either a Vox or a Baron or an Idris is starting to make some serious waves.
Yeah, I think this is getting to a point now where it can no longer be considered this like weird fringe pick that nobody really gets why it's happening. Like this is now starting to become at least like a semi-meta pick at this stage. It's starting to really become a significant pick within the meta.
It's definitely a strong pick in this situation too, because you have the double heal comp, and we've actually seen the double heal comp fall out, but when it does show up, having double weapon means that you get double poison shiv, and of course, really what's important about the double weapon here is that you have a hero like Krull who can jump into whatever fight you're having and absorb a lot of that damage, which Krull as a weapon carry can still do and still dish out a lot. Plus, double tension bow is what we almost always see with the double weapon, and you see, of course, really impressed that Rogue has picked this up and really been effective with it.
Yeah, and that is that final Kraken push that they almost managed to finish things off. Weren't quite able to in the end. The Kraken doesn't quite finish it off on its own, and Evil just simply doesn't do any damage at that late stage, and then obviously the dance to finish that one off. Rogue Hammy is going to be the MVP for this series. He had some phenomenal performances across the course of the 3 games, and I think proving to be a very staple carry for this team, and hopefully we'll be able to keep up this performance as they head towards the Vainglory 8.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong sign for them being able to show up as the top team in the challenge battles, but that is still only the bottom 3 teams of the Vainglory 8. They still have a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead of them if they want to become one of these top contenders in North America. But as you mentioned, this is a great way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is going to be the end of that series. So let's have a cheeky look at how things have been panning out so far this weekend. We do have one final series remaining, but it's not the most important series in the history of the world. These guys are going to be playing for Pride now. It's going to be Tribe going up against... I've actually totally forgotten NRG. Both of these guys, they haven't won a game yet in the Challenger series. They are 0-4 apiece. And so they're going to be playing basically to not come last, but they are both guaranteed relegation at this point. Obviously, you can see the seeding for the top 3, Rogue, Hammers, and Immortals, going to be moving on forward into the Vainglory 8. And now we have our game between NRG and Tribe to round out the day with some fun games and some games to really, put your final mark on the Vainglory 8 before you go down into the challenges for a split.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation for both of these teams, but this is, like you said, your last chance to kind of show people what you have. There's going to be a lot of probably some good big roster shuffles coming up, especially after this offseason. Teams that want to make some final improvements to themselves. You can perhaps make a name for yourself, solidify some strategies coming into this next season of Challengers.
And that's one of the things. A lot of these players already have made a name for themselves. It's more about kind of re-strengthening that name once more.
Yeah, and it is about trying to get that good seeding in Challengers. I mean, Challengers are starting very, very soon, and you want to be able to end these challenge battles correctly and go in on a high note. They're starting this week, so these games do matter in the sense of how they're going to be able to be seeded in place going into Challengers very, very soon. Plus, there's Pride. Not having any points coming out of challenge battles is not the way you want to end the split.
No, absolutely not. You want to go out with a little bit of dignity behind you. But that is going to be Tribe anyway. They're going to be going up against NRG. Now, this is a team that, we've had a lot of glimmers of hope for this team. Like Juan Hernandez, Lightning T, and Bradley, all 3 of them having like montage-worthy highlight moments in the Vainglory 8, but just not able to make that consistent, not able to really bring that on a regular enough basis to be a solid team. It feels like a shame to me that these players are dropping out.
Yeah, it really does. This was a team that had so much potential. I mean, coming into the challenge battles, I would have said this was the team that was most likely to keep a spot in the Vainglory 8. Going into week 3, week 4, I was expecting NRG to not even be in the challenge battles, but unfortunately, they just weren't quite able to perform to get those wins that they needed, and it's kind of all come crashing down around them in these past couple days.
It certainly has, but hopefully they'll be able to come crashing down onto Tribe, or hopefully for any NRG fans out there. Anyway, we'll see whether that's going to be able to be the case for them. Obviously, these are some of their highlight moments from across the weekend. Although they never managed to grab themselves a win in the challenge battles, they certainly had some good fights for themselves. So what's the expectation coming into this series? Are these drafts predictable? Because, I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. We've seen a couple of comments from the players about potential draft strategies coming on into this one. What are you anticipating, Dragonborn, coming on into this?
I have no clue. I mean, but I think if they play within meta, then we can expect to see Baron contested, Grace contested, Lyra, Vox, Samuel. We do have kind of an understanding of what these teams are great at. Also, Stasbake, he likes to be that aggressive jungler. He likes to play a Kashka or play Samuel. He really stays within what is normally the meta. So if they decide to do that, then I think we expect to see Status trying to just show everybody at the end of this challenge battle that he is still a dominant jungler, because for the most part, he's struggled a little bit.
Yeah, well, we know that they've been saying a little bit in Twitch chat that maybe they won't take this as seriously as perhaps they should. I believe you tweeted at them earlier, Bacon. Am I correct in that assumption?
You might just be. I tweet at players all the time trying to get them to run a Weapon Power Arden. Even in incredibly important matchups, I want people to run Weapon Power Arden just because it's a really fun pick. It's a lot of fun, and I think there are opportunities for it, but we're not going to get into that can of worms unless it actually happens. I think enough people have heard me go on about Weapon Arden in the past, but I think for this draft, they're going to stick fairly to the meta. The first couple of picks and bans are likely going to be very meta-focused, but I think these teams are, at the end of the day, going to realize this is an opportunity for them to have a little bit of fun and play a little bit of off-meta picks and try things that you wouldn't normally see.
Yeah, and I think I want to go back to that point as well of this being a really good opportunity for these players individually to kind of show themselves off just a little bit. We have a lot of raw talent on both of these rosters. I mean, especially when you look at players like Lightning T, Juan Hernandez. As I've said before, they've had highlight reel moments. This is a really good opportunity to strut your stuff on the mainstream and kind of get your name out there, potentially with rosters opening up when we get towards the end of the season. This is the final opportunity, I suppose, for a couple of these players.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that these are going to be very strong teams and challengers. I mean, we're seeing some of the best teams leave and exit into the Vainglory 8. These guys are going to be sitting at the top, and there is still something worth fighting for. So the second split does, have a lot of impact for some of these teams with some pretty good potential outcomes. So I definitely hope they, this game particularly, I hope that they have some fun with, but do something that's maybe interesting to the meta and try and kind of impactful as we still are here on this 2.7 update.
All right, well, we are just waiting a couple of minutes while we get the players ready to jump on into this first draft and get on into this series. But I want to ask you guys about these two teams in particular. Neither of them have had success so far in the challenge battles. Is there a favorite coming into this? Which team are you favoring coming into this final series?
I think just because both teams have not been able to perform, you have to kind of default back to where they're coming from. And NRG is still Vainglory 8 team. They were the highest seed Vainglory 8 team in the challenge battles. So I feel like even though they haven't been able to perform against the other two challenger teams, they are still the favorite in this matchup just almost by default.
All right, would you agree with that one, Dragonborn? Do you feel like they're coming in stronger?
I do think so. I think that they are a very solid team. I really was actually hoping, I was favoring them to possibly keep their spot, and Hammers was a real surprise here. So with that, I think that they are favored, but we'll have to see what they pick because it could go either way. I'd love to see Status have a breakout game, honestly. He's kind of been flying under the radar, and he really is a world-class jungler, and I think this could be a chance to maybe have some fun, but also show people how good he is.
Yeah, I feel like I've been missold a little bit because we've got like Status and E36. They're brothers coming into this. I was told that there was going to be crazy synergy. I feel like we've not been able to showcase the players on either of these teams across this weekend as much as maybe they have been showcased in the past. Obviously, like Mixi, his name has been out there in Vainglory for a long time, and like the NRG guys, they've had a fair bit of limelight across the course of this tournament. And Status as well has a reputation. I feel like they've not really been able to like build those reputations as much this weekend as I would have liked to see out of them.
Yeah, it's been like again just an unfortunate situation. I mean, even NRG, like the reputation is there. Lightning T has this reputation as this player that got a team into the top of North America previously, then wasn't able to play for a while. The team immediately got relegated. Everyone thought, okay, Lightning T is actually just this incredible player, and he can solo carry these teams, but now it's not really so much the case. Things have changed. Things have adapted. The rest of the teams have all improved so drastically that one player being a hard carry is no longer enough. And it's just when you're not having everyone completely and fully on the same page, you can see it in their play. Like then it looks like NRG and Tribe a bit like they haven't really been fully on the same page, at least in these challenge battles.
All right, well, I can inform you guys at home that Tribe, they're missing a player right now. They're currently looking for a substitute, and they have a couple of minutes still to play with before the admins will make a decision on the situation. But we're just going to talk a little bit about this weekend while we wait for the decision to be made, while we wait for the players to get online and get ready for this series. How are we feeling this weekend has gone? Obviously, this game isn't going to affect the grand scheme of things in terms of the results. Like, How does our final results, our 3 teams from each region, compare to what you're expecting coming into this week, Dragonborn?
Well, I think this continues the message of how good the challenger teams are, the skill gap between them repeatedly. It's 2 teams from both regions making it into the Vainglory 8, and this time around, very close across both Europe and here in North America. And that's a great message because now no longer is it this like low, these teams are not good enough. These teams, are barely going to get in. That was a season ago kind of the reflection of a lot of these top teams. Organizations didn't take it seriously, and now that's been completely reversed. Being in challengers is that opportunity. It's really intended to form these challenging teams to come in here and actually face off against the top of these Vainglory 8 teams. And time and time again, I love to see it happen. I love to see these teams really taking the distance because the competitive scene is deeper than I think sometimes we realize. And so again, great to see this season also reflecting upon that.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Bacon?
I mean, for me, I think at least in Europe, I think it was as expected. Maybe not the final standings, so to speak, but yeah, I think a lot of us were expecting G2, Calamity Reborn, Salty Potatoes to be the 3 teams. In North America, it was almost as expected. I mean, a lot of us were expecting it to be NRG instead of Hammers, but I think everyone was expecting Immortals. And a lot of people were probably also expecting it to be either Rogue or Echo Fox, and kind of a little bit of a coin toss there. So the final standings were definitely surprising, but I think the end result is really what a lot of people would have been expecting.
All right, well, speaking of end results, I can inform you guys that there has been an admin decision, and unfortunately, Tribe were unable to field a roster for this final series of the challenge battles, which means it is going to go to NRG 2-0. They do manage to get some points on the board, even if they didn't manage to actually win a game. NRG down at the bottom alongside Tribe and Echo Fox, and then we have Rogue, Hammers, and Immortals making it on through to the Vainglory 8. And with that in mind, that is going to be the end of our stream today. I just want to do a quick recap of the EU points as well. Obviously, we've been talking about the teams a little bit here, but Calamity, Salty Potatoes, and G2 Esports are going to be the 3 teams in Europe going on to the Vainglory 8.
And because of the way that these challenge battles formats work, it does mean that the 2 challenger teams from each region, because there's 2 Vainglory 8 spots open, they get to choose which of those spots they want, starting with the higher seeds. So Calamity Reborn and Rogue, they will now be officially on the clock to make their decision of which of the 2 available Vainglory 8 spots they want for their respective regions.
Yeah, there are points up for grabs. There are also schedules up for grabs. This is a round-robin format in the Vainglory 8, so they have to decide based on what teams they still have to face in the final 3 weeks of this season. We'll get into that can of worms when we get onto the Vainglory 8. I mean, how are you feeling, Dragonborn, off the back of that, as we're going to be rounding out the stream? Do you have any final thoughts for everyone on how you feel this weekend has gone and how you feel for these teams that have managed to make it on through?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely am thrilled, and of course, I was pretty strongly opinionated that it would be an Immortals and Rogue. I agree with Tasty here that Hammers was really the wild card in this entire tournament, and definitely excited to see that happen. So definitely heartfelt for Echo and Energy. They played really well, and honestly, a lot of people are going to be looking at them saying, oh, they're not great enough, but they really did play well like, in all of their series, even against Immortals, which many argue is a top 4 team. So I expect those teams to, don't hang your head too low. Come back into it. And of course, Challengers is going to be very exciting again this coming split across both regions. There's a lot of top talent in there again, as always, which is a great way to head into the next split.
Yeah, if this weekend has proven anything, it is exactly that these Challenger teams are nothing to be trifled with. Any final notes you want to give the audience here, Bacon?
I just want to say, last season, we got to see Tempo Storm come from the challenge battles and make it to the Unified Championship. This could be 4 teams making it from the challenge battles into the Unified Championship. I think there's a very real possibility that all 4 of these challenger teams end up in the top 6 by the time the Vainglory 8 season is over.
All right, well, with that, we are going to be closing out the stream. I just want to say thank you very much for joining us this weekend, Dragonborn. It's been a pleasure having you on the desk, but it is going to be just about it from us. Next week, we're going to be back on twitch.tv/Vainglory as the normal season of the Vainglory 8 will resume. Split 2 will begin, and we'll have our new teams having their debut games. But with that, I'm going to say good night to everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back in the Vainglory 8.